Just a little test here. Little test. You know, it's pretty amazing. And it's kind of funny, actually. You look at the world, you look at YouTube, like, a guy like me, and people pay to hear what I have to say for good reason. And like, no one knows about me on YouTube. That tells you where people's heads are on YouTube. YouTube has become the world's largest portal of scams and scam artists. And that's a fact. YouTube has increasingly ramped up their criminal activities. And of course, you know, they'll have the typical lurkers come by. They want to see. How's this by the way? I'm just trying to test this too. And you know, some of you would be, I think all of you would be actually astounded at, if I started really talking about investments, the stock market, so on and so forth, you'd be astounded how much I know and how much you would learn. Because nobody on YouTube knows jack. They don't know shit. A bunch of idiots. And I'll get that out here shortly. And I mean, think about it. You're dealing with the lowest hanging fruit. The YouTube investment clients, all of them are novices. And then one of the top guys in the world. 30 years. I mean, I've been in the business longer than most of them had any life. Right? Oh, so there's an issue with microphone? Okay. So is it an echo? I can't hear something else. Yeah, I think it's audio. How's that now? Is it better now? Is it better now, sir? Yeah. So the microphone, I'll tell you the situation with the microphone is that the microphone is actually pretty good. It might be the software, because I don't know how to use it. You know, because I'm not one of these losers who has a low-paying day job and trying to transition their career to make a YouTube killing instead of focusing on their real career. So I don't know how to use the streaming stuff. So I got this prism. I've tried StreamYards, and I couldn't figure out, like, you have to connect that to OBS, and, you know, I don't know how to use StreamYards with a screenshot and a stream thing. So Prism was easy for me to figure that out. So how's it sound now? Does StreamYard, do you have to use OBS to connect it with StreamYard or not? Can you just pull a StreamYard and go on YouTube? Can you do that? I don't know. So you just want to take it? Shit, hold on a second. Sorry about that. I can hear myself. Now, I don't get any audio on my... Do you all hear me okay or no? Hear me okay? Test. Type 1. Oh, okay. Okay, so that's what it is. Sorry about that. Oh, okay, I see now. I see an audio mixer and I had a... See, okay, I see. They should make this stuff dummy-proof, you know? Because I don't want to spend like I don't want to waste time like learning new software unless it's like really valuable. So is everything okay now? Okay, all right. So I learned something now. That's really the purpose of this. Very good. So yeah. So the bottom line, folks, is that I don't want to teach. I don't want to empower these frauds on YouTube. That's why I'm not going to like talk about. And even stuff that I just ramble about, I guarantee most of you are like, holy shit, like wow, like I never knew any of this stuff. That's just random talking about. You see, folks, none of these people. Show me a single person who even understands the capital markets on YouTube. Identifies. Nobody understands the capital markets. I was explaining something to some guy that I know he's kind of I don't know if you call him a quintessential of this whole, you know, but he's a millennial guy. He fits the profile, millennial guy. He's an intelligent guy, but he's millennial, like, you know, 32 or something. Not educated, no college degree, but he's an intelligent guy without a doubt. But you know, this is the problem when you think that you're intelligent. There's things that you don't know, and the stock market is one of those. It's a black box. It's actually people that think that they're intelligent and they think that they can translate that into, you know, stock market. Those are the people who are in deepest trouble, because the stock market is, as I've said before, is one of those difficult things to really understand and form a somewhat consistent basis of success in. It's I could argue the most difficult thing in the world, much more difficult than, you know, things like the physical sciences, which are clearly the most difficult subject topics in the world, right? Physics, chemistry, things like that, extremely difficult. But this is much different because you're dealing with a variety of things, and you're dealing with human behavior. You're dealing with even if you're a valuation expert, and nobody on YouTube is running these little knows anything about valuation. They're all clowns. And I'll get to that in a second. But even if you're a valuation expert, you're still going to face a lot of problems. You're going to miss a lot of things because you're dealing with an open marketplace. And this is why I said before, Warren Buffett is the reason why he fails so much in the market is because he's a traditional valuation guy. That's best for the private markets, you see, where you don't have a marketplace, an auction place. Private markets is the best for valuation analysis because it's much closer to that. So, you know, private equity, things of that nature. But so let me get to these guys on YouTube. It's kind of, you know, the Tom Nash scam where these guys, they come out, here's my DCF model. And so they create a confidence game, right? A confidence game. In other words, they're going over stuff and showing you, oh, you see this. And people think, oh, gosh, he knows what he's talking about. Oh, wow, I don't really understand it, but he sounds like he knows what he's talking about because he's throwing out terms. He's talking about growth rate and price to sales ratio, and he's talking about, you know, cash flow per earnings and stuff like that. Folks, these people are clowns. They have no idea what they're talking about. Never confuse someone learning terminology and just throwing things out with expertise. The problem is that you got to understand, if you don't really know much, just because someone can blabber, they don't know what they're talking about. I challenge anybody, and if you have a cult leader, and that's what everyone with these channels are, they're cult leaders. If you notice this on these channels, right? The guys, they connect with them, and they have their little following, and yeah. And you know you're in a cult, by the way, when people present you with evidence to the contrary of what your cult member says, and they won't listen. No, you don't understand. Like, you know, like the flat earth people, that's a great example. Everyone with a channel that engages with people in the comments and all this stuff, they're all running cults. Write that down. It's a fact. And if you don't think so, I challenge you to sit back and think about it now that I've introduced that idea to you, and just watch all these channels. Plus, I've been following this crap for years. Social media has kind of made it much worse. But anyway, I challenge you, if you got a cult leader and you think he's great, he's an expert, he knows valuation, this and that, anybody that you think has real credibility on YouTube, okay, bring them to me and tell them. I will give them an honest chance. I'm an honest guy, I'm a fair guy. I will give them an honest, fair chance. And I will assess their credibility based upon talking to them, right, and also looking at, you know, their background, what they've done. But I'll mostly listen to what they have to say and look at their track record as well. And if they're credible, I'll tell you. If they're maybe not too bad, or I'll tell you if they're really a disaster, I'll tell you. I'll guarantee you, well, I can't guarantee this, but I'm confident nobody will come to the table. And if you identify someone with the tongue about me and say, oh, no, they'll make up some excuse, okay? I'm just telling you, there's not a single, folks, and I'm just telling you this because for your own good. You listen to these people, not only are you going to get your ass handed to you, you're never going to learn anything, and you're never going to go anywhere in your life. You see, the key thing is to understand. And there's some of you that get it, you understand, but not a lot of you. Because it's not that simple to understand. But, you know, I can assure you, and by the way, I pulled up a video I want to show you guys about credibility, okay? None of these people have credibility. Nobody. What is credibility, by the way? And I want to show you guys a video to give you an example of how people used to be smart. People are stupid now because of the internet. The internet has made people stupid. There's some of you younger people out there, what is it, the Z generation, is that the newest crowd? You think, oh, it's the information age. Oh, I don't need anything. I can just Google it. No, you can't. We're in the age of disinformation, you see? And I'm going to give you an example that proves that people were more thoughtful, they were more logical, they were more objective, and they were more critical before the internet. They actually posed questions like, well, you know, you're telling us all these things. I want to know what makes you qualified to tell us these things. I'm going to give you a great example. Does anybody know? Listen, CoffeeZilla probably wouldn't invite me because I've already called him out for terrible due diligence on Patrick Boyle and Tom Nash. So he won't do it. Now, if he's a man, if he's a real man, he'll take the criticism and he would do it. You see? But you got to understand as well, even though I'm on good behavior, I'm too controversial for anybody like CoffeeZilla who's got a lot of subs and who's afraid. He's afraid to get demonetized. You know, these guys, folks, the bigger they get, the more subs they get, the more YouTube owns them. You understand that? The more they are owned by YouTube. And this is why it's a danger, because the more money they're making, right, the more they're banking on YouTube, and they have to walk the line. You understand? That's how it works. And this is why monetization completely destroyed YouTube. Ad-based content is a scam. Write it down. Okay? So, I mean, I would be, sure, I mean, and here's the thing. I'm not interested in talking to any like chump guys with no subscribers. I'm interested in talking to people who are influencing many people. Those are the most dangerous people, potentially. I'm going to throw potentially in there, right? I'm not going to paint everybody, right, with the same brush. But I'm going to say those, and this is what I've always done. Back 10 years ago, when Peter Schiff was all over the TV, pitching all his ridiculous nonsense and crap, I was calling him out. Okay? I'm the expert on the guy. Got over 150 videos on the guy. I owned this guy back and forth, up and down, in reverse, in time warp. Because he was adversely impacting people. This was a guy telling you the market is going much lower when it bottomed at 6,500, which I predicted 2 years before in a book, by the way. And he kept all this stuff. So he kept many people out of the market that listened to him in the longest bull market in history because the media provided him with daily exposure. And this is what I keep emphasizing. The media is the big problem, folks. And all these guys on YouTube, these investment guys, what do you think they get their ideas and content from? The media. The media. The media is a disaster. Don't you all understand the media is designed to screw you? You all understand that? Surely some of you, probably some of you don't. But especially the financial media is rigged. I want you all right now to get an idea about Jim Cramer and the CNBC mafia. If you want to get an idea, please do this right now. Go on your search engine and type in the story of Dendron and then type deep capture. I want you to read that story and you'll understand. You'll start to get an idea. I mean, I knew all this stuff before. Some of the stuff I didn't know, and I have a different understanding of what goes on CNBC. I want you to download that document or read that article. It's very long. I think it's got its dozens of pages. I want you to read that and you'll begin to understand how the financial media is gaming its audience. Okay? That's I like that, Cole. That's good. I got to remember that. I made up everything. Okay, so this is the most important thing any investor needs to learn. Stay away from the financial. I'm telling you. And I understand why everybody watches the media because they're so good. You got to understand the media is a Hollywood production. It's a Hollywood. It's fake. It's bullshit. They're telling you, oh, this guy's an expert. He knows this. He's for this and this and this. That's all lies. Lies. That's why I've exposed the track records of all these clowns. Jim Rogers. Oh, Jim Rogers, the famous investor. He retired. Oh, he did? Jim Rogers never retired. He's still working. You understand? He's working his ass off because he's getting money from PR, speaking events, getting on boards of companies he pumps. I talked about that before. Retired people they're not in the media every day. Like all these, this other guy I exposed before, what's her name? I think this black couple, they were in Portugal. What is her name? I forgot. They're running a scam. Oh, we retired. No, you didn't retire. You're on YouTube every day. That's your income. Also, this one guy, this Mr. Mustache. I retired. No, you didn't retire. You're in a different business. It's called online. Folks, come on, you can't be dumb. Okay? You gotta use your head. And the problem is this. If somebody comes out and says, look, they give you the truth, the full story. That's fine. But when they're lying from the beginning, the whole premise is a lie, you're going to trust that person? That tells you they're greedy scumbags and they don't care about you. They're going to lie their way through anything to get money. I forgot the name of that. They're so stupid too. But anyway, and here's the thing. Look, the more content you pump out on YouTube, the bigger you get. That's all. It's just simple. It's sad because people want to be sheep. They want someone to lead them. This is the problem. If you're that mentality, you had better stop in your tracks and change, or you're going to be led to the slaughterhouse throughout your life, guaranteed. You're seeing it even today. People are going on channels. What should we buy? Can you tell us what to buy? You got to buy something every time. I mean, let me just give you guys a little simple common sense. Okay. When there's a great bull market, the economy's great. Okay. Look for something to buy every day if you want to play a trading game, which you're not going to win. By the way, the whole short-term trading is a scam. If anybody can, I'm not going to say, there's nobody in the world, okay, that cannot trade professionally for a living. When I say nobody, I'm talking about 99. At least 99.9%, because there's always the luck factor, okay? But the point is that you're not going to learn from somebody to trade for a living, and that's fact. I could talk about that for a long time, okay? But my point is that nonetheless, when everything is great, okay, you can be looking for stuff to buy on a daily basis all the time. But when things get a little bit shaky, don't you think you need to kind of take a step back? And it's called lowering your risk, right? Another thing, none of these clowns on YouTube talk about suitability. Suitability, a critical concept, because of course they never worked on Wall Street, you see? But anyway, let me just get back to what I was going to talk. Let me show you now. I want to show you. Now, I'm going to set this up. So back in the mid to late 70s, let's say, gold soared, right? Some of you won't even really care about this because you're not, the whole gold thing it's kind of lost a lot of momentum. And most of you weren't even investing back when there was a big push for gold. Some of you were in your biker still. And I'm talking 15 years ago. But the point is that back in the 70s when we had stagflation, we had, I think at least two oil embargoes, right? We had all these issues going on. We had the, I don't know, it was a 5-day war, 7-day war, Israel, right? You had all these things going on. And you had the high inflation period of the 70s, right? People had to wait in line to get gasoline. You had gold soared. Now, of course, the gold bugs aren't going to tell you that, they're going to talk, it's inflation, that's why it went up, right? Hey, dummy, we decoupled the dollar and gold in 74, dummy. Anyway, gold does not hedge against inflation. In fact, write it down. I'm the only person that's come out there consistently and said that. And that's just a fact. It doesn't. Okay? It doesn't hedge against inflation any better than, any other commodity. I mean, commodities can be a short-term hedge against inflation, and of course you see all this. I've done videos on this, dispelling all this garbage. Gold does not hedge. It's actually a hedge against deflation. It's a hedge against deflation. Okay, and that's fact. Okay. And by the way, let me just mention one thing before I go on. It's off topic. I have people that I've hired actually scouring YouTube, and if there's anybody that wants to talk shit about me elsewhere, you're going to be banned on this channel. You're going to lose your opportunity to interact with me. FYI. Okay. FYI. But because I'm actually consuming critical time. This is a research weekend, right? Where I have to pump out a research report by Sunday evening. But anyway, so let me just mention the 70s, gold is soaring, right? Gold does not protect against inflation. It's a protection against deflation. I'm not going to get into all that, and of course they talk about, your dollar's going to hyperinflate. You still hear people talking about that nonsense, right? Let me tell you, folks. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. The point is that gold popped. I think it maybe peaked at 1980 or something, 79, 80 at $750, $800, something around there. We'll see here in a minute. You had this guy who, anybody know this guy named Doug Casey? And by the way, if you're anybody know Doug Casey? So you get losers here who are talking shit because they know that I'm talking about them. You want to make a video about you? You're all scammers and hypocrites. Scammers and hypocrites. You see, I'm not going to get into that, but let me go ahead and show you the point, folks. See, folks, when I speak the truth, these guys feel threatened. They're all of them feel threatened because they're not honest. Let's take a look here. Let me show you here. Oh, yeah. Softman Finance, you mean the guy that tells you to buy this index? Hey, if you want people to buy an index, you make one video. You tell them, buy the index, and that's it. You have one video for your channel. You see, that's just a draw. Of course, we know. And then you start trying to analyze stocks and this and that, and buy my book and this and that. I mean, come on, dude. Seriously. I'm not even going to begin to destroy you on being so-called a what do you call yourself? A certified CPA accountant, which I've never heard anybody in the world who's an accountant say that. Doesn't make sense. And you don't even respect the authority and importance of auditors to check financials in one of the most corrupt countries in the world. That's bizarre. That's really bizarre. But anyway, that's bizarre, dude. I mean, think about it. You all know what auditors are, right? They're accountants. Auditors are accountants. They provide a very important function, right? And anybody who lived through the dot-com collapse would realize that, because that collapse was due to accounting fraud, essentially. And that's why the Sarbanes-Oxley was passed, right? Because all the auditors, the big accounting firms, were in bed with Wall Street, and they signed off on garbage. And that was a complete implosion of that industry. Pricewaterhouse, Coopers, KPMG, you name it, Arthur Anderson, right? So think about that even happened in the U.S. And we changed that. There's a lot of oversight now. And think about China. You got companies in China. China's you understand that the economic data in China is not even legit? They're lying about their data. Does anybody, you all understand that? You all understand that? I'm getting ready to do about a 4-hour webinar. I've already got 200 pages of notes on that, on China, actually, here in a couple of weeks. But does anyone understand China's lying about their data? Does anyone doubt me on that, by the way? So imagine if they're lying about their data. It's a very corrupt country. And it's not important for auditors to check the statements of Chinese companies. Wow. So does anyone, let me just go ahead and tell you, if you think that the Chinese data, is not manipulated, and you don't want to believe me, okay? You don't believe me. Actually, the Chinese premier has actually admitted it several times. And you can find that online. Okay? Can you imagine a communist country where, like, some of the officials come out and say that? I mean, I'm surprised they haven't gone missing, right? That's pretty scary. But anyway, let me get to the main, well, one of the main things I'm going to show you here. So let's do a setup here. I'm going to set you all up. I want to show you this chart. Here we go. Let's go. Now, look, gold is not an investment. It can be part of an investment strategy. That is to say, commodities like gold, they're cyclical. You don't want to hold and buy and hold. Okay? You don't buy and hold commodities. That's stupid. Okay? For many reasons. Gold is something you might want to buy. You might, although I wouldn't. Not unless it's like just for a hobby, something collecting coins or something. If you're interested in gold, you buy gold stock. Okay? A good stock, a solid stock. A stock that pays dividends, by the way. I've mentioned one before, actually. It's been quite well. But you can see the chart of gold here. It popped in the late 70s. You look at that, right? Typical bubble formation. You can see, what was it? High of 873 looks like. Now, this is probably like a monthly or bi-monthly, so it's not going to give you the exact high. Then you have, I think it's September 1980. So it collapses all the way down 500, and it rallies right to the top. See that? You know, kind of like what the stock market's doing. Wink, wink, hint, hint. And so, let's see, September. So you see that? Makes another high, right? Sorry. Closes at 728. Okay? And of course, now this is not, normally these would be like intraday, these are daily charts. These are not daily charts, once again. These are monthly nearby, right? So anyway, I just want to give you that perspective. You can see what happened. It collapsed down to 300. Yeah, my channel sucks. Okay, great. I don't care. I'm not here to build a channel. I'm here to help some people, okay? And only a small fraction of people are going to get it. I know that. I understand that. That's okay. My conscience is clear. That's all that matters. So anyway, so you can see this collapse, right? This is, 45% collapse? No, I'm sorry, what am I talking about? 65% collapse? Something like that. Somebody do the math. You can do 66%, 70%, right? And this is over the course of less than what? I guess let's call it less than 3 years, right? So imagine if you bought anywhere, let's say above 600 or above, and it collapses down to 3, okay? I mean, imagine if you're going to last all the way down here. This is torture. This is really emotional pain. Okay, assuming that you do, because you believe all the nonsense. Look, big rally. Wow, 200 points, 40%, something like that, right? Whoa, right? Or talking more 40%. Yeah, this is much more than 40, 60% something, right? Huge rally anyway. Do the math. Back down, right? Hit that support. Back up. Hit that resistance. Well, you don't have it yet. It's not enough points, but by here, it's pretty good suspicion that you're forming a resistance. And certainly by here, you got this other the support again. But that's how many years later? 1993. Well, I don't think technical analysis is going to help you too much understanding what's going on with gold. Okay, you're going to have gray hair. My point is this. Here's the point. Most people buy when you get these big surges. This is when most people pile in, right? Happens with Bitcoin, so it happens with everything. Now ask yourself the question: what percentage of people are buying when this thing is peaking? And by the way, I'm not monitoring comments. Some comments don't go through, FYI, right? They don't go through. FYI. I mean, only I can see some, but they don't go. There's like some type of a filter or something, which I don't even know how it works. So, but anyway, FYI, just so you all know. Okay. So my point is that what you're getting is the dumb money buying in this period. More of the dumb money is buying here than is buying here. You'll understand that, right? I'm not going to go and tell you as why, but you can figure it out. My point is that you had a lot of people buying gold. What happened? How long did it take for them to break even? Ask yourself what you're going to do. Because this is a good example. This is actually quite illustrative because, in fact, some of you might be in this situation in the stock market. You might find yourself in this situation. Because I've said before, a lot of these little tech stocks are going to fucking penny stocks. Okay? And I've been right. In fact, several months ago, I said Palantir's going to $7. Where did it go? Boom. I don't really, it's not a forecast or anything, but based upon what's going on, I wouldn't be surprised to see it go to 3. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go to 2. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go below that and then eventually do a stock split. I'm not saying it will, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I certainly wouldn't bet against that. Because you're dealing with a dog shit company with the weirdo, incompetent loser CEO who is treating the company as a personal piggy bank. Just like him and Peter Thiel, who I suspect maybe they got a relationship going on, right? I mean, that's not the type of company that you want, okay? Where the CEO cashes out for $1.4 billion within 2 years of the IPO. That doesn't sound like he's real confident in the company, does it? Right? That's not a company that Anyway, so you might want to kind of take a look at this because some of you, unfortunately, who listen to people telling you to buy Peloton, which I identified a while back as garbage. I said this thing's going like the trash. It's going in single digits, maybe penny stock basis. I mean, it's just garbage. Zoom identified when it was like 300. This stuff's going to crash. There's no doubt about it. Zoom obviously has got something, but the valuation is just insanity. But anyway, my point is that some of you might find yourselves with complete trash stocks, and there's plenty of them out there. And you might see yourself in this situation. And you may not realize it until 20 years later. Okay. And if you think that situation, and in fact, actually, if you're in a stock that collapses and stays this low for this long, you should probably consider yourself fortunate because most of these companies that get hammered aren't going to last this long if they're this low. It tells you there's something going wrong with the company. So 20 years later, 25 years later, they still haven't recovered anything. That's not a good sign. But what's the point? The point is that think about how long it took. I mean, they haven't even made their money back yet, right? Not even close. I want to show you a video. In fact, I've got the. You can find. Here's our friend Tom Nash. We'll talk about him here shortly. Doug Casey. Anybody know Doug Casey? On Phil Donahue. Oh, sorry, it was November 1980, not September. Okay. Anybody know Doug Casey? Timothy, let me explain something to you, sir. You cannot throw out the term debate. It doesn't mean anything if you don't have two people anywhere remotely on the same level. You understand? I don't debate immature children who are. You want me to debate Warren Buffett, Bill Ackman? Okay. You understand? I'm not going to debate somebody. Okay, some little YouTube person. Okay. All right. That's kind of how it works. It's not possible to have a debate. You have to have two somewhat related peers in the same peer group. You understand? That's how it works. That's kind of how it works. Okay, so you little YouTube guys can do your little debates. Okay, I advise multi-billion-dollar funds, hedge fund managers. How do you think I instantly spotted that Patrick Boyle was full of shit? This guy, he doesn't have a clue what's going on in the market. It's obvious to me, which is why he's e-betting on YouTube. I mean, he's got to be the only. Well, he's quote former hedge fund. And by the way, I mentioned this before. The reason why I was wondering why he didn't call out the trading gurus, he didn't really come after them. He's kind of like, oh yeah. The reason why is because his little rinky-dink hedge fund, he was involved in trading, speculative trading, quant trading of commodities, which basically means you set up these little macro algorithms based on technical analysis and other indicators to trade. That's why I got blown up. What a joke. So of course he's not going to go after traders that you can't trade, because he kind of says like, yeah, that's why I blew up. I mean, you don't believe me? Look into it. He had a quant fund, trading commodities. I mean, it's not even like, this is why you wonder why he doesn't talk about things that are relevant to the market and valuations. He doesn't know. No, he can prepare. He's a teacher, so he'll prepare everything. Give you a script. Get him right in front live. See what he can say. Let's go. You see, I can tell if someone knows what they're talking about live. You bring up things and they know what they're talking about, and I can tell when someone's a BS artist. They're just throwing words and terms out there. Okay. Great example is Nomi Prince. Well, I'm a former managing director of Goldman Sachs. This girl is an airhead. She's a clown. So I had most of her videos are gone because she was on these conspiracy channels which have been removed. I have a lot of them, and that's just so obvious. But let me just show you this video. Here's the point. Doug Casey. Anybody know Doug Casey? Anybody know Doug Casey? Anyone? Doug Casey? Doug Casey, anyone? Come on, I'm sure some of you know him. FD, it's easy to talk shit when you're nameless. Okay? Put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is, or shut up. Okay? I back what I say with money. If you don't believe my claims, here's what you do. You got to make it worth my time, so let's take it. I'll lower it. I'll say 30 grand. Okay? 30 grand, put it in escrow. Put it in escrow account, an attorney, law firm. Okay? I'll do the same. And I'll provide a document stating my credentials and my claims. And when I prove them, I will collect both escrow accounts. If I can't prove them, then you collect both. And we'll hire a third-party consulting firm to make a decision. How's that? Okay? That's how I roll. And I've made various offers like that over the years, and I've never, ever lost. Ever. Okay? Bottom line is put your money where your mouth is. Now, people can be wrong about a stock, and this is different. We're talking about factual things. Okay? Make sense? So, folks, by the way, I wish I'm seeing a lot of comments that they're like getting automatically flagged. And, it's too bad because I want people to see like all this, coming after me. Why? I'll just tell the truth. I mean, why? You understand, folks? Because they don't want the truth. As I said before, con artists don't like the truth. You see, they like to fool people and keep people in their little cult. But anyway, Doug Casey, the gold pumper, the guy's the con artist, he's a clown. This guy's been pumping gold since 1980, and this is a guy who back in 2011 or 12, the financial crisis wasn't that far off, a couple of years, 3 years ago, before that time, and so there's a lot of problems going on. You had for instance, you had the first downgrade ever of U.S. debt. Right, I think was it Moody's in August 11th, August 14th of 2011, right? So there's a lot of fear. You had the sovereign debt crisis. Most of you don't even know this because you weren't around in the investment markets, but I still remember the details clearly because obviously I was involved heavily. But my point is that during that time, when people were still scared, and all the same guy, this gold pumping crap, buy gold, stock market's gonna crash, buy gold, you had this guy telling people that they need to move to Argentina to avoid the collapse in America. Now, anybody know anything about Argentina? Think about that. You got to move to Argentina. This is 2011, 2012 to avoid the collapse in America. Get all your money. In fact, you should take it and put it, in the Argentinian banks. You don't want the dollar. Did they tell you the dollar's going to collapse and go to zero, right? Anybody remember this, by the way? Anybody remember this? I could H2, sir. I could explain to you about the gold standard why that will never happen, but I don't want to reveal too much because people will copy me and use my insight and call it their own. But anyway, do you all understand? Argentina is on like maybe its fourth bailout from the IMF now. There are people rioting in the streets. Oh shit! Hold on. I'm sorry. Let me see. I still don't know how to work this software program. So, what? It doesn't show the video? This is weird. Can anybody see? You guys see the video that I'm showing or no? Anyone see the video that I'm showing? No? Okay. Okay, well, this is weird. Why this won't show the video? Or, hold on a second. I'm trying to... Argentina has had inflation second only to Venezuela in Latin America. Complete disaster for many years. Their economy collapsed. Their currency collapsed. And it turns out that Doug Casey was telling people to move there and using the fear-mongering, gold-pumping nonsense. You know why? Just so it turns out he was selling real estate there. He had a development there he was trying to sell people. And if you look into this crap, it's interesting, folks, because you can learn a lot from the past. This is the whole libertarian movement. Libertarians they're charlatans. They preach free markets and all this stuff. They're shills for corporate fascism. That's what they are. Okay? And this is when the Gulch's, Gulch's Gold. Jeff Berg was involved as well. He was trying to pitch real estate in Chile. The guy, the scammer, charged people tens of thousands of dollars for telling you you can get a second passport. Now you got another scammer who's involved with them, charging even more, nomad capitalist. Who's such a scammer to avoid legal actions, he actually rescinded his U.S. citizenship. As far as this is what I understand. And it makes sense because anyway. By the way, folks, if you want another passport, you don't go to some clowns on YouTube. You go to an attorney. You understand? You go to a qualified attorney who's going to have a network of professionals who works with these things. You don't go to some clown who, and none of these guys, Berwick or that other Andrew, they don't even have college degrees. But anyway, so think about if you listen to Doug Casey. Jesus, I don't know why I can't show the video. Well, I'm going to play the video so you can hear it. You'll have it. Oh gosh, the site didn't come up, did it? Anybody see the site? Did you guys see the site? Yeah, I think the site came up, right? No? Here you go. That's weird. I guess I don't know how to work the software. Anyway, you can just look for Doug Casey, Phil Donahue. Okay? And I'm going to play this video. Hopefully you guys can hear it. You can listen. Oh, Jesus, that's great. It doesn't even play. Oh.
Don't you think that will help cause the veins to collapse much faster?
Probably true, yes, that's right. I think that if with the dollars that he saves, he starts following the kind of advice that I'm giving in that book, he's going to be one of the new class of millionaires in the years to come.
Are you taking your own advice? Are you investing?
I have for a long time.
If you are, wouldn't it be wise for everybody to follow your advice? Wouldn't that make you rich? And isn't that why you wrote the book? Mr. Casey.
You hear that? You hear that? The lady's saying, she's thinking, well, this guy basically trying to pump gold, right? That's what she's saying. Let me fix this mic here. Yeah. That's what she's, oh, Jesus. That's what she's saying, right? That's exactly what she's saying, okay? She's thinking, let me play something else here. Listen to this one. So this guy's trying to get people into gold. He's telling them they're going to become millionaires. The next class of millionaires. You've heard that line before. Listen to this.
What do you do for a living? Are you employed?
No, I manage my own money, is the main thing that I do. I mean, that's, I can't answer. I also write an investment newsletter that updates people on this, and I'll probably write another book. It's clean work.
I'd like to know what makes Mr. Casey such an authority on any of this.
That's a good question.
Hear that?
I'd like to know what makes Mr. Casey such an authority on any of this.
Hear that, folks? Why is he an authority? You got a guy, November 1980, when gold is, I don't know, $700, and he's telling everybody they're going to be millionaires. And they're a new class of millionaires, they buy gold. He's talking about all this nonsense, America's going to go bankrupt, and all these things. Right? And you have a lady that asks him, well, how are you qualified? She asked a critical question. See, people thought back then. You see, people were thinking back then. You understand? They were thinking back then. No one asks on YouTube, well, how do you have credentials for this? How are you qualified to be analyzing a stock and telling us to buy this and that? Have you worked on Wall Street? That's the first question that they should answer. If they haven't, forget it. Second question, what have you done? Right? You can be on Wall Street as a salesman. Okay? What have you done of significance? And then the third question is, well, show me the money. Show me the proof. What's your track record? Right? We're not talking about, trading alerts. That's a scam. That's baloney. It's a nonsense. You understand? And this is why I know nobody's qualified on YouTube. And it's shocking why anybody would go on YouTube to listen to some guy talk about stocks. And these are people that are getting their information from CNBC, by the way, which is a joke, which is a scam. So it's just really weird. The whole thing is weird. And honestly, it's because people are greedy. And they think that, they're greedy. Because really, 95% of you, and the problem is when I say 95, most people think they're the 5%. They're the exception. Just buy the index fund, that's it. Okay, that's it. And all the time that people are spending consuming disinformation, trash content that they don't even realize is disinformation and trash content, and the time that they're spending on their own trying to learn I'm going to do my own research. Really? You can't do your own research. You're not in a position to do it. I mean, you think you can compete with all these professionals, tens of millions of professionals in the world that have tons of experience and expertise and access to insider information and access to, you can't compete with those people, okay? You can't do it. And you're certainly not going to do it listening to a bunch of junkheads on YouTube. Some of you thought you could, because you saw the stock market go up and up and up, but you're going to learn. You think stuff is down now. And I went over and I read Tom Nash did a video on Palantir, and I read all these comments, all these people, yeah, I'm going to buy more, I'm going to buy more. I started thinking, like, what? What? And that's unfortunate. Earlier, the video, it was showing other, let me see if I can, does anyone use Prism? I don't know how to use it, really. Anyone know how to use Prism? Can you tell me? Would you like something with a screen refresh or something on Prism? Hey, Chris, if most financial advisors can't beat the S&P, which, by the way, you don't know that. How do you know that? But let's assume that you're correct, okay? If they can't beat the S&P, you tell me YouTube kids can beat it? Is that what you're trying to tell me? First of all. Second of all, it's not just about trying to outperform the S&P. Financial advisors, while I don't have a whole lot of great things to say, but I'm not going to say they're 100% useless because they're not. They do provide value. For instance, if you went to a financial advisor 2 years ago or a year ago or whatever and said, hey, I want to buy Kathy Wood's ARK Invest. I want to load up on it. The financial advisor wouldn't have let you do it. The financial advisor would have said, this is very risky. I don't think that you should buy this, or I think you should only buy a small amount of it. So he would explain to you, and he would position you based upon your financial profile. He would provide suitability for you, which would have saved you a ton of money. And the same applies to all these other garbage stocks. So if you think that having a financial advisor is about beating the S&P, then I don't think that you understand what it's all about, because it's not. Okay, it's not about that. And once again, if you're telling me that financial advisors can't beat the S&P, well, then that means not many people can, and that means YouTube is the furthest away. People on YouTube are the furthest from that. Okay, well, you see, most people confuse entertainment. They mix entertainment with serious things. So they think, oh, I'm watching this for entertainment, and they end up being influenced by it, and they end up crashing and burning. This is the way it works. This is why I think, I say stay away from trash, not even for entertainment. If it's trash, if it's toxic, if it's a problem, stay away from it, because people don't understand how the subconscious can be impacted right? They're not clearly in control of all of their actions. There are subconscious cues that can trigger. And of course, we haven't even talked about the fact that the average human being, the brain does not completely mature until the late 20s. That's fact. So you're listening to people provide judgment on things that the brain hasn't completely matured. All the neuronal connections have not been established yet. Wow. Good luck. Good luck with that. FYI. Yes, Edward, Doug Casey's still pushing. Listen, once a gold pumper, always a gold pumper. See, you got to understand these guys. It's not just pumping gold. It's a huge cult. This is why they don't just pump gold. It's a complete culture of the libertarian freedom. This is what's so funny. It's so funny that the cryptocurrencies did what the gold pumpers couldn't do, right? The cryptocurrencies really began because of the gold pumpers, right? Freedom, get rid of the banks, scare the dollar, right? So, a lot of people got into the cryptocurrencies because of that. And also, they thought, it's a hedge against inflation, all this nonsense. So the cryptocurrencies took off, and the gold really didn't really take off. So I think it's pretty funny to me. Because, of course, the people pushing gold and their shills, I mean, they're the ones, think about it. They want you to buy it from them or their associates at high commissions, right? Or they want you to store it in some vault, pay 1% a year, which is why they throw out all this nonsense. Oh, the government's going to confiscate your gold. You can store it for 1%. It's huge. Those are huge fees. Of course, the gold pumpers take advantage of the most unsophisticated crowd out there in terms of investments. Because they don't even understand 1% to hold something, or gold dealers, they charge, the fees have come down now, but they were like 5, 6, 7, 8% per transaction. Like, you have professionally managed funds with teams of analysts and traders, right? A huge staff, huge cost that are diligently focused on managing that fund. And they're charging, 1% per year, and even less in some cases. You see what I'm saying? These people don't stop and think about it because they don't know. They're paying 1% of their gold, but have it stored in some vault. I mean, it's just shocking. But, so, it's funny, no one's ever asked the question of these gold pumpers. It's like, okay, you say all fiat currencies eventually fail? It goes zero. That's what history says. That's a bunch of nonsense, folks. I could just tear that argument apart. I'm not going to do it here, but just go ahead and tell you. If you want to use that argument, you can also say the same thing about all nations that use gold and silver as currency. They also collapsed, right? Roman Empire, Greek Empire, so on and so forth. But these are just like really stupid arguments that I debunked a long time ago. All their nonsense. But my point is this. If you believe we're going to have hyperinflation, all currencies are going to zero, they're not worth anything, right? Well, ask yourself, okay, if that's true, why don't these gold pumpers, these gold dealers, why don't they hold on to their gold and watch it go to the moon? Why do they want your worthless currency, your fiat currency, in exchange for their highly valuable gold? I mean, you can't even make this up because nobody would believe it. Like, how stupid the people that fall for these gold pumpers are. I mean, it's just amazing to me, right? And by the way, I have been notified, Mr. BP, I don't know who you are, but I've been notified. If you go on other channels, talk about me, I want you to stop that, please. Don't go and stir up drama and say all this. If you do that, I'm going to have to ban you from my channel, okay? I would like you to not, if you want to say something, say it in your own, I don't speak for you or anybody else. And I'm not here for drama and bullshit, okay? So kindly refrain from this nonsensical behavior, okay? Because this is not a fucking game for me, okay? I've seen people lose everything. And there's going to be people that are going to lose everything. I can guarantee you that. It's going to be a fucking bloodbath, okay? I mean, tell me it's not already, to a large degree, a bloodbath, right? If you were listening to the YouTube crew, tell me. I mean, it's amazing, like, and the guy, I'm going to get back to the guy. Does anybody use Prism? Can anyone tell me how I can get out of the screen? Is there like a refresh button or something? Anybody? Anybody? 'Cause I want to show you some stuff. I'll go ahead and tell you so they can't pull up the screen. Ran across Tom Nash's channel today. I saw a video. I don't know, a few days ago, I think it was March 5th. He's telling you, market's going to crash. Here's how you can make 20%. And he goes on to tell you how, hey, you can just buy Twitter. It's arbitrage. Big hedge funds, big funds do this all the time. You can buy it, and you're going to get upside. Take a look at Twitter today. Now, ask yourself, how many YouTube guys out there are featuring Tom Nash's call? You see throughout this, oh, it's bad, everything's bad, but I got something for you here how you can make 20%. Showing you what an idiot this guy is. You think it's that easy? Really? Wow. Unbelievable, man. It's really unbelievable. Unbelievable. Luckily for Tom, I probably won't be around here in the next few months or so. And I'll probably even move on. I mean, Kevin is, it's long overdue for me to talk about Kevin, this guy. Complete disaster. But I want you, folks, to think about this. Ask yourself where these YouTubers are getting their stock picks. Because I can tell you, before even seeing, the YouTube garbage, many of these stocks I'd never heard of before, or just vaguely, right? And I said before, that tells me something. It tells me most of them are going to be garbage. Like, where are they getting this stuff, right? And that also raises up something suspicious about Palantir. I think there's something shady going on with this company, because I've never seen it. Well, I'm not going to say never, but I haven't seen a company get hyped up so much in a very, very long time, a new company, and they don't even really tell you exactly what they do, right? And then you see who's hyping it up and who's holding it. Is it institutional investors, or as our friend Tom Nash would say, institutions? Institutionals? Idiots. No, it's like the typical YouTube person. So I'm wondering what's going on there. It seems a little bit strange to me. I wouldn't be surprised if there's someone involved with Palantir to some level that had been pumping it on social media, so on and so forth. Right? It's pretty bizarre to me. Meet Kevin. Yes, the worst is hard to tell, because each of them have their own game. They have their own little stunts, okay? Kevin is different, the way he does this stuff. But I would have to say, if you're watching Kevin on a daily basis, he's probably, yes, the most damaging and destructive. I would have to say. In other words, it's because he actually promotes short-term trading. And he promotes, from what I understand, I wish someone would do a synopsis on Kevin, tell me what he's done. I've run across, and I haven't spent hardly any time watching his stuff, but apparently he tells people to buy, to use margin. He encourages it. He tells people to sell puts. I mean, these are two of the riskiest three things that you can do. Okay? These are two of the three riskiest things that you can do, or let's say two of the four riskiest things that you can do. You all understand that? Is use margin and sell puts. Okay? Theoretically, selling naked calls I think is a little riskier, but selling puts is not far off. It's just pretty shocking to me, right? You all have to understand, and I mentioned this before, I doubt, there might be one or two people, but they're probably not like these typical YouTube investment guys that really understand margin, how it works, and the ins and outs on YouTube. The problem with margin is that you don't understand how it works until you learn a tough lesson, okay? And I'll just go ahead and tell you guys. Do you understand that the brokerage firm that you use margin with, does anybody have margin now or has used margin before, by the way? Yes, Yeltsin, exactly. Yeltsin says, why would any serious investor be on YouTube in the first place? It seems odd. I like to hear that because it gives me hope for humanity. It's right, it's common sense. Why? And I mentioned that earlier. It's really weird. But anyway, does anybody ever use margin, by the way? Anyone? I want to tell you right now, don't ever use margin. I tell people this all the time. Don't ever use margin. You know why? It's dangerous. It's irresponsible. Listen, if you're a professional fund manager managing a fund, okay, sure, you might want to use margin. Many funds use margin. They use it responsibly, okay? Well, let's hope they do. Sometimes they don't, right? Like the guy, what's his name? What's the guy's name? Michael Wong, the arpeggio guy. But does anyone use margin? Anybody? Okay. I have margin enabled, yes. So if you have margin, by the way, if you have margin enabled, okay, did you know this? Let me just tell you something, by the way. Ask yourself why no one's saying this. Like you've never heard this before, guaranteed. And it's just like the most basic thing of understanding like what goes on in the market. Nobody, now of course, someone's gonna hear this on their channel and they're gonna talk about it like they're some guru. Mark my words, okay? People have been stealing shit from me for years. If you enable margin on your account, do you understand what that means? That means not only you can use margin, but you're allowing your stock to be borrowed, to be loaned to somebody who's short. You're actually hurting yourself. You're actually making your shares available to be shorted. And many brokers, some brokers will pay you for that, but most brokers don't. You should actually receive income for that. You see? Don't quote me on this. I want to say interactive brokers will pay you. I'm not sure though. But the typical brokers are not going to. Okay? Robinhood, what is a scam company? Robinhood is a scam company. And by the way, did anybody take a look at the quote, we'll call him Russian, because that's what he calls himself. Scam artist that founded the company, right? The Russian con man. He cashed the hell out. Boom! He cashed out on day one, leaving the bag holders holding the bag. Take a look at the price. Can anybody tell me how to refresh? Let me see this. I want to show you a chart here. Let's see if this does it. Oh, okay. So that works, right? Okay, cool. Okay, excellent. Okay, here we go. So, here we go. Take a look at Robinhood. Our friend, he cashed out here at 38 bucks, 40 bucks. Okay? Boom. And this is the man. So why do you think he did that? Remember, folks, I want you to remember this, okay? I want you to remember this. Everyone on YouTube, remember all these people pitching Robinhood? Oh yeah, Robinhood, I use Robinhood. Robinhood, here's affiliate link. And it's not, Robinhood is the poster child, but it's also all these apps. Webull, Public.com. If they're trading apps, they're scams. They're scamming you. They're ripping you off on every trade. They're selling your order flow to hedge funds that are front running. You understand front running? Right? And I believe that the trading apps are providing the worst execution in the entire industry. That is to say, now you've got a problem. And I've already communicated to Gary Gensler at the SEC that a while back, even before he was there, I told him that selling order flow is causing potential collapse, could cause a collapse in the markets. I explained that last time. It's very dangerous, and it's also criminal, right? So this guy from Robinhood didn't even disclose. He had no disclosures telling people that he was selling order flow. I told you, not only is he a crook, he's also stupid. Why? Because nobody using Robinhood would even understand what that meant. They could put it in even if they said selling order flow, they wouldn't even know. But of course, they're going to say it in legal terms. Imagine who most of the customers of Robinhood are. They're newbie investors. They don't know what's going on. So he didn't even disclose that. That's why they got sued for $300 million, or they got fined by the SEC. I think it was $300 million, right? That's how stupid the guy is. Selling order flow is screwing people. People selling these affiliate links, it's not responsible. It's not honest because it's not in their best interests. Hell, if you're going to sell an affiliate link, just sell something like a VPN. But no, that doesn't bring you the money. Because you're doing financial content, you want to sell something financial. Be a little bit, have a little integrity. Sell something that's not a scam, that's useful, it's not a conflict of interest. You see? The order flow thing is a scam. It's absolutely a scam. You all understand that? I talked about how it's making the markets vulnerable. There's a structural problem in the markets. It's causing a potential liquidity freeze up. It can happen at any time. Not to mention, of course, what it has done now, with no commissions, people tend to trade more. And the more you trade, the more you're going to lose. That's just the fact. Okay? That's proven. They think, it's free to trade. Okay, well, go ahead. Do the Shark Tank dude fish quick? I don't know. I don't even watch TV, and I would not watch Shark Tank. I think it's a scam. It's a fake show, a bunch of bullshit, and the people on Shark Tank are a bunch of losers. All those people. If they were 1/10 of what they're supposed to be, they're great businessmen, great investors, they would be wasting time on a TV show. Okay, they would be on TV. You see. So Michael says, I personally think stock might be the most disgusting degenerate actor or drifter gambler on YouTube. Yeah, of course, I did a little thing on this guy. I mean, honestly, I just don't have, I wish I could go over, there's not, if there were 1,000 of me, I wouldn't have enough time to go over this Stockman guy. Look, when you're an old guy like this guy, and there's another guy as well, a British guy I haven't gotten to, this Tilly guy or whatever, and you're like a flat out scammer, and you're like in your 40s and 50s and 60s, and you're like exploiting kids and doing this stuff, like, that's a higher level of disgusting criminality, in my opinion, you know? Because you can always argue, you can make an argument that, okay, some of these guys on YouTube, they're just ignorant. They're not out to actually screw people. But when that money's coming in, right, you understand they kind of get bought off by the money. They're getting, you know, it's the money's the thing that rules. But when you're talking about guys like Stockmo, I mean, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And, you know, Meet Kevin, although he's not as old, he's in a similar category. Why? Because Meet Kevin is a guy, right, he made that video in 2020 saying he doesn't know anything about stocks. He'll never make a course on stocks because he doesn't understand stuff in the stock market. I mean, a confession, right? And as I mentioned last time, Kevin, just like our friend Mr. Mayer, Max Mayer, you know, the former furniture movie guy who's now a stock market and cryptocurrency expert, him and Kevin, one thing I noticed about those guys is that they pulled in people early on because they were constantly pumping out videos in 2020 on stimulus checks, like every day, every other day. They were making fake content to pull in people who were desperate, may have lost their job, who needed money, and that's how they grew their channel, which is completely disgusting and despicable. And many of those people listen to them and have lost a ton of money, I'm sure. Right? There was no, how many stimulus checks were there? 2, 3 in total, something like that? Right? Making videos every day about stimulus and this and that, clickbait, giving people false hope. That's dishonest. That's a dishonest intent. That's the problem that I have. When there's a dishonest intent, that's a big problem. Okay? That's the highest level of scammery, as far as I'm concerned. When you have a dishonest intent. I'm not going to say that every YouTube clown has a dishonest intent because I don't think that's the case. Okay? I don't think that that's the case. Right? I mean, think about it. I'm pretty negative on them, but I'm not going to be fair. I don't think that they all are dishonest. I think many of them are, and I think generally speaking, the larger the channels are, the more they become dishonest because they get bought off, you see? I think, you know, many of them, especially the smaller ones, they're just ignorant, which is not a bad thing. It's not great, but ignorance just means you don't know, or you don't know any better. But at some point, I mean, come on. At some point, you kind of have to say, wait a second, do I know what's going on? Jesus Christ, I tell people to buy Peloton at $100, right? At some point, you know, it's about taking personal responsibility. And I have a problem with all of this because, of course, I'm from the financial world. And, I mean, I would never even, folks, let me just tell you, it takes a certain person to be really dishonest consistently, okay? And there are several of those people on YouTube. And this is what it goes back to. You know, as I mentioned recently, you know, obviously, Tom Nash is not the biggest YouTuber out there. But he's a guy that came out from day one and made all these false claims. And that's what I really take offense at, okay? Because he's lying to try and pull people in, and he has obviously his intentions. He's dishonest. It's scum. It's the worst of all scum. Meet Kevin kind of did it a little bit, to some degree, not directly, but to some degree, to a large degree, actually. Telling how he's a real estate expert, he's making all this money doing, that's all bullshit, he's lying. And people, why do you all believe stuff? Like they make claims, you believe it? Show me the fucking proof, Kevin. You show me the proof. You're a fucking liar, dude. But now, Kevin has upped his game, calling himself a financial analyst. Now he's in a different territory. He's not a financial analyst. That's a lie. You see what I'm saying, folks? You understand? It's about intent, okay? And hopefully some of the YouTubers out there, maybe they'll say, you know what? I thought I knew what was going on. You know, I don't. I'm going to give this up. I'm going to quit. Okay? You do that, and you're good in my book. Okay? But the problem is that it's not going to happen for the most part. And you know why? Because greed kills. They get addicted to the greed, and they're making money on YouTube. And this is just the reality. You know, it's, you know. And by the way, let me just mention something. This, I don't know this guy. What's this guy's name? I don't know, Chinese Chicken Genius or something? Chicken Genius? I don't know this guy. I watched a couple of his videos, and people seem to think he's legit. He's no different than all these guys. He's just got a different game. In fact, the video that I saw, he admitted he used to sell courses. This guy is a clown, just like all these other people. He was in the course selling business, and what I think what was going on, he was preparing, you know, to get into that game. He wasn't monetizing. I don't think he was going to do it. But I don't know what happened. He just kind of got frustrated and left or something. Okay. Once again, ask the question: have they worked in the financial industry as a financial advisor on Wall Street in some capacity? And if they have, what have they done? Where have they worked, and what have they done? What qualifies them? You have to, you know, breach certain hurdles. Having an undergraduate degree in business doesn't qualify you, or even an MBA doesn't qualify you. It doesn't. Honestly, the most important thing, in my opinion, is your experience on Wall Street. Now, once again, you know, some guys are just pure salesmen and clowns, so it doesn't mean necessarily they're in. Okay, for sure. But it's just shocking to me. It's shocking what I've seen on YouTube. And you know, look, you can't go and trash one of these guys and this and that, and then the next day go and do your stock analysis. That's a joke, man. I mean, come on. You're trying to pull the same game they are. All these guys on YouTube, they're just as unqualified as Meet Kevin to be providing that content. That's the message. You can't, you know, I'm going to slam Kevin so I can get subs for clickbait, and then I'm going to do my stock analysis. What? What the fuck is that? I mean, come on. Really? Come on. So, Abby, Abir D. Rose, what's your opinion of OTC penny stocks? should refrain from investing or trading in them. Well, I hope this saves you a lot of money. See, the problem is that people they don't value when people prevent them from losing money. You know why? Because they don't know how valuable it is because they haven't lost the money. They need to lose money to see the value in good guidance. The value in great guidance insight is priceless, folks. It's priceless. Okay? Absolutely priceless. Let me go ahead and answer this question. Okay. And I'm going to respond to another one. So he's asking about over-the-counter penny stocks. Sir, I've written about this. I've published on this. Penny stocks are a scam. Write it down. Okay? Especially over-the-counter penny stocks. They're a scam. And people that push them are scam artists. And they're trying to manipulate. I could go over and talk about this for a few hours, actually, and show you the details and talk about the details. Now, certain stocks become penny stocks. You all understand what the definition of a penny stock is, by the way? You all know that, by the way? Anybody? Come on, you guys got to know this. Yes, Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar, you may have been a ruthless emperor, right? Ruthless piece of crap, but, sir, you're exactly right about penny stocks. Everybody know what a penny stock is? Come on. It's defined as a stock trading for under $5, okay? Under $5, okay? Now, listen, BP, I'm not planning to grow my channel to expose people. And the fact is, my goal is not to specifically target people, but I've had to show as an example, I just don't want people to get destroyed. That's the goal. The problem is that people want, as I said earlier, they want to be led. Most people are sheep. They want to be led. Think about it. I can sit here and talk about risks and this and that, but at the end of the day, I'm not giving them stocks to buy. They want action. They want stocks to buy. You understand? This is a part of human psychology that's fairly normal, unless you have overcome it. This is how it works. Those people need to understand that. And most of them are probably going to learn the hard way. You see? There's a great value in discussing risk. And risk is extraordinarily difficult to understand. You know, people, I told this to somebody, let me think. Oh, I told it to this guy I know. I was talking to him a few nights ago, this guy from Switzerland. And he goes, I remember you told me last year, you said, when these stocks start to crater, you think these stocks are great and this and that, and when they start to crater, I told him, I said, you think it's so valuable? I said, you're going to be thinking, what's this worth? Is it worth anything? And he told me, he's like, yeah, I'm thinking that now. I'm thinking that. How do I know that? Because I know how these things play out, folks. Has anybody, owned a stock, bought a stock, and you thought it was great, a superstar stock, and you wanted more at 200 and more at 250 or whatever, and you thought it was just the best thing, and it was going to the moon, but now you're like, I'm not sure what this is worth because it keeps going lower. And has anyone encountered that either now or ever before? When you see that, when you see that, that's it's pretty telling. You see, and that's when you know you're in a bubble blowout. By the way, which I already told people. I went 90% cash several months ago, and I'm not buying nothing, because I know the deal. I know how this stuff plays out. Anyway, so everybody every day, this stock to buy, Okay, go ahead, have fun. Let me answer. So the penny stocks are a scam. Okay, now the caveat to that is that OTC penny stocks are almost just. I'm not going to say 100%. I'm going to say 99.9% a scam. There are other penny stocks that are not necessarily a scam. I'll give you an example. Not that I'm bragging, but I was recommending A&D a long time ago at $2 and $3. That's fact, and I have written proof. In fact, once A&D won the antitrust lawsuit against Intel, I wrote a report saying this is a game changer. This is maybe in 2014 or something like that. Okay, this is a game changer. Most people don't even know they don't know these stocks. I mean, I know these stocks. I was having discussions with the CEO of A&D 20 years ago on the phone, and he was talking to me. I have always been high on A&D because I understood the problems, the war that they had to face with Intel. He was telling me how they had been screwing them over and getting away with it illegally for years. So when they finally won that class action lawsuit, I was like, wow, this is a major game changer. In fact, I encourage everyone, if you want to understand how capitalism works in America, I want you to read that report. It's A&D versus Intel. I don't know exactly when. I want to say 2014, 2015. Read that report. You're going to not even believe it. Okay? Because it talks about, and this is what this guy told me, the CEO told me, who's retired a long time ago. They've gone through like 2 or 3 CEOs since then. But in the report, there's emails from Michael Dell, and he's talking about how Intel chips are shit, the processors are garbage. And he's like, he's basically saying, I don't want this garbage. And the reason why, you see, Dell was only offering Intel for a long time. And the reason why is because Intel was paying them money. You see, they were basically illegally blocking A&D out of the market. Read that report. It's hilarious, man. And it tells you it's pretty disturbing. But anyway, my point behind all of this is that A&D is an exception to that rule. And the reason why, in terms of being a penny stock, it was a penny stock, yes, but does anyone know the relevance of the penny stock? Anybody understand the relevance of the penny stock, by the way? Here's why I'm going to talk about A&D. Anyone know the relevance of the penny stock? Yes, no? Anybody? Come on. Folks, you don't learn until you put yourself out there. It doesn't matter if you're wrong. There's no grades. There's no assignment here. Okay, that's good. You answered. Okay. The problem with the penny stock, and folks, once again, and I know I've got the YouTube guys who are listening to me, they're trying to learn so they can beef up their content. Ask yourself why nobody has and write this down. I mean, I've been telling my customers this for many years, okay? More than 2 decades. I've known this for a long time. Ask yourself why you've never heard what you're going to hear. Probably, I would say. You've never heard this, even though it's not rocket science. It's another example proving to you that these people don't understand the capital markets. And if you don't understand how the capital markets work, I don't care if you've got 1 million PhDs in valuation. You don't know what you're doing. Okay? You're clueless. So write this down, because you're going to have some of these gurus in the future, they're going to mention this to make it look like they know what's going on. I guarantee it. Guaranteed. I know some of you guys right now, you're on the edge of your seat. Can't wait. The reason why penny stocks are dangerous is because Wall Street drops research coverage. There's no more research coverage on penny stocks. Are there some exceptions? Yes. But generally speaking, when a stock falls below $5 and stays there for a while, Wall Street eventually drops research coverage. And once that happens, the stock's in trouble, generally speaking. And once again, there's exceptions. And basically the exceptions are if the stock has been able to maintain that penny stock share price for a long time, such that it does not, because you all understand, the lower stock goes, the more risky it becomes. You all understand that, right? You all know why? Anybody know why? Kenny, the reason why the media is covering Dogecoin is because it's the hot thing now. It's the hot scam, you see? It's the hot scam that they can push. You understand, look, folks, when a stock price falls to critical levels, it changes ratios. You understand? It changes certain ratios that are involved in the covenants agreements. You all understand this? Debt covenants? You all understand what I'm talking about? I mean, you think you're going to hear this on YouTube? These clowns don't know what they're talking about. They're just mimicking people. They have no idea. And this is basic material, by the way. Okay. Well, Arthur Rogers wants to teach me something. He's saying it. Stock goes lower. It's less risky. Right? It's less risky. Yeah. let me educate you here. I don't know if it's possible to save you, but I didn't say lower. I specifically said under $5. There's a difference. When a stock becomes a penny stock, it's I'm not going to say a death blow, but certainly the chance of bankruptcy has increased significantly. Okay, that's a fact. That's known. If you don't know that, look, H2, I don't have a percentage. I don't know that anyone who would give you a percentage is credible because I don't think it's really possible to calculate a percentage. I mean, of course, you can go through and you can check historical data, but the problem with that is then you have to put a lot of criteria. In other words, how long was it under $5, right? So you have to be really specific about the time period. You see, the stocks can go under $5 and interbound. You know, I think it has to be under 5 for a significant amount of time. You know, several months at minimum. Okay, once it goes below $5, research coverage is dropped. Wall Street typically won't cover it anymore. Once again, there's always exceptions for a variety of reasons, but generally speaking, it loses coverage on the street. And if it loses coverage on the street, it loses any chance of real institutional ownership. Which, by the way, let me just mention something. You know, you got the superstar, former Wall Street analyst, supposedly Tom Nash, talking about how all the institutionals, as he calls them, they're starting to buy Palantir now. Remember that? He said a couple months ago. Oh, look, it's 35% now. 37, it was 20. Folks, do you understand that much of the institutional ownership that you look at when you see stock, show me who the buyers are. If you see BlackRock and State Street, right, and Vanguard, all that means is that, yeah, those are institutional shares that they own, institutional buying, but it's because they're in indexes. It's not like you've got, you know, Renaissance Capital coming in and taking a big position. So a certain portion of the institutional ownership is because they have to buy it to put it into indexes, you see? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, folks, nobody on YouTube knows any of this stuff. And this is like baby talk for me. That's why I'm not going to really talk about a lot of advanced stuff, because I don't want these guys to get free education from me. Because then they're going to be able to pull their tongue game better and make you think that they know what they're talking about and steer you into the slaughterhouse. You know, not by intention, probably, but by ignorance. So anyway, that's what happens, okay? Now, the reason why I brought up AMD, I gave you my little story about AMD, and I think it's pretty interesting. That's why I remember it. But here's the deal. AMD was not in that situation. Although for many years it was a penny stock, $2, $3, okay? 15 years ago, 16 years ago, 17 years ago. The reason why was because if it was a problem for AMD being a penny stock, in terms of problems with their ratios, then they could have done a reverse split. But apparently it wasn't. See, that's the thing you have to worry about, is the covenants, okay? There's a lot of covenants. And, you know, I mean, I know about all this stuff because one of my focuses is distress securities analysis. So AMD is one of those examples. There's other examples as well. There's other exceptions. But I'm just telling you, generally speaking, if a stock falls below $5 and remains there for a significant period of time, it's not good. It's a bad thing. Now you can say, on the other hand, well, a company can do a reverse stock split, right? They can do a 4 for 1 if it's $4 and be trading at $16, and they're fine, right? The Forex, XXL, the Forex market is rigged. It's a scam. It's a complete scam. I've talked about that before. Every trade that retail investors doing, they're getting skimmed. It's complete bogus. You can make a lot of money in Forex, but you can also lose your ass. Aside from all that, they are ripping you off on the trades. There's no doubt about that. I don't encourage. I discourage people from doing Forex. I don't want. It's very dangerous. It's very risky. It's speculative. When you hear speculative, that's like gambling. Okay. I provide Forex trading research, but I tell even people who get the research, I don't recommend you trade this stuff. I'm not their parents. I can't decide what they're going to do. Some people want to do it. That's fine. And some people can do well, but you know, I don't recommend anybody do Forex. In fact, some people get the Forex research actually because they want to understand more comprehensive. They want to understand the market more comprehensively by understanding commodities, and also they get it so they can understand how to technical analysis. Because really, commodities and Forex and commodities. I mentioned commodities because it's the same thing. Commodities and Forex is mainly technical analysis. That's what it is. Okay, mainly technicals. And that's why it's gambling, because there's no. I mean, you could say there's fundamentals behind a currency and behind a commodity, but they're short term. It's based on, like, you know, news bits, right? There's exceptional cases when there's extremes, like for instance, you know, when the war broke out. If you happen to have known that Russia's a big wheat producer and exporter, there you go. You understand? There's certain examples like that. And by the way, I'll give you another example, which people don't even realize. Some people who had been trading this ETF. Has anybody heard of USO? I'll go ahead and show you here. You all know USO? The oil fund? Anybody know this? Look, I'm a research provider. If people come to me and want research, I will provide it. Okay? I'm a research provider. I can't determine who's going to use research and whatever. I'm not a financial advisor. I have institutions, professional research, professional funds that want research from me. What am I going to say? Oh no, you shouldn't do it. I'm not their mommy. Okay? I'm not telling people. I'm not giving advice. I provide research. You understand the difference between research and financial advice? There's a big difference. You understand? I'm a research provider. I run a research shop. There are things that I do that some people should not do. There are things that some people do that I'm not going to do. Everyone's different, right? Some people want the risk. Some people want to take on the risk. And by the way, if you're an institutional investor, you're running a fund, it's much different for you than an individual investor. Okay, that's why. So Forex, well, you can buy US dollar index for short, right? So yeah, in general, you're right. You're basically trading pairs. You all, but anyway, let me. Does anybody know USO? Okay, I'm surprised nobody here knows USO. USO is like a ETF, it's an oil ETF, and I think a lot of people are getting in it, thinking, oh yeah, it's great, look at it, wow, it's soared. Let me just tell you something, and that is, I know for a fact, okay, this thing, unless oil is in a very strong bull market, you're not going to make money off this, okay? Not long term. This is for trading. This is linked to commodities. See, people don't even know what they're investing. If you see an ETF or any type of fund, the first thing you need to do is understand how that fund works, okay? How does the fund work? This fund tries to mimic the daily price change, I believe, in oil, or maybe oil and gas, probably oil, okay? And it does that using futures contracts. You understand what that means? That means that if you generally speaking, if you buy it and hold it long term, it's not going to do well because you're getting a constant rollover of the futures contracts. You're getting a constant bunch of fees are building up. The only reason why it's doing so well now is because of the extreme move in oil. You see, from what, minus 10, minus 20 bucks a barrel on the April futures contracts of 2020, it was, I think, to where it is now. You see? So I want you to know that because many people don't realize that. Because I've seen it. I actually spoke to the portfolio manager maybe about, I can't remember, maybe about 8 or 10 years ago. And I basically told him, like, well, you can't really make any money with this thing, right? I mean, he really didn't know what to say. He kind of said, yeah, it's for short-term trading. So in other words, if you want to trade oil, instead of going into the futures markets, you should probably trade something like this, short-term, if you want to trade. If you want to, in other words, I'm not saying you should do it, but I'm saying this is the lesser of two evils. You see, because the important thing, and a lot of these, these inverse ETFs, a similar situation. They're for short-term trading. I would never buy an inverse. I mean, well, maybe an inverse, but leverage ETFs is wow. Inverse ETF potentially. One great example. Can someone give me the best example right now? Come on, I know you know it. There's one example. SR, right? The ETF, it's shorts Kathy Wood stock. Right? Right? But you gotta be careful. The leverage ETFs are quite dangerous. And this is something that, I mean, it's kind of bizarre because when they first came out, the leverage ETFs, 2 to 1, 3 times, so forth, I think they first came out, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, something like that, right? People didn't know the dangers. And then finally, it was communicated to the public, and then people kind of realized. It's kind of weird because like nobody knows the dangers now, because it's like a whole new generation of investors. They're very dangerous, right? Some of you may have learned the hard way, by the way. And that's often how most people learn. It's the hard way, because once again, people don't typically appreciate risk. When you're telling them, oh, Zoom at $350? Are you kidding me? You understand? This is a video company that basically, if Microsoft wants to wipe out tomorrow, it can. If Cisco wants to wipe out tomorrow, it can. It's a video company. What's the competitive advantage? Right? You understand, like basic stuff. And they were still, they were bending over backwards to get more of it, weren't they? You see what I'm saying? I mean, look at this. What? $575. I specifically came out and said the stock's going to collapse big time. I'm not surprised at all. You see, folks, valuations don't matter until they do, right? All these guys talking about, they talk about stupid metrics. And Tom Nash, the genius expert, he came out and said that PE ratios don't matter. And nobody on Wall Street or who's ever worked on Wall Street will ever talk about PE ratios. He said, go and find somebody and ask them on Wall Street. He removed that video. Of course, you all may have seen the video I did on that. He removed it. Find out he watches my stuff. He said so many things that make me think that he has never even come close to being any type of analyst. In fact, he wears his Michigan shirt every day. Why are you doing that, Tom? What do you think you do? Well, because I said I went to Michigan. Do you believe me now? Right? Also, you notice in his older videos, he had a picture of Putin in the background. And then Russia invades Ukraine, he puts an American flag in the back. Because he knows who his Patreons are. You understand? When you got someone that thinks this way, that's pretty like conniving and scheming and disingenuous in itself. Isn't it? I think so. Exactly, he changed it. So, yeah. Folks, just remember, you had everybody, earnings doesn't need to earn anything, right? And it's shocking, you've got companies still that have collapsed, that are still, I can see them going down another 50%, even though they've come down even more than 50%. I mean, earnings do matter, okay? They do matter. And, you got people, because, like I said, all these guys, they get their shit from Kathy Wood, right? Kathy Wood's the one talking about price to sales. Price to sales. Price to sales. She's an idiot. You want me to debate somebody? I'll debate Kathy Wood. I will destroy her. And I'll do it politely. I won't call her any names. I'll just lay out the truth. Folks, and of course, none of these guys on YouTube know this. I've mentioned this before. When you're looking at stuff like price to sales, that's relative valuation, okay? What that means is that a great example is the EV bubble that's burst. Everyone's looking at relative, Rivian's worth this because Tesla's worth this, and I'm looking at price to sales, and even though Rivian didn't even hardly have any sales, right? They've got orders on the books, right? The problem is when you're in a sector bubble and you're looking at metrics for companies that don't have earnings, you're looking at stuff like price to sales and this and that. I mean, those things can collapse in a heartbeat because it's relative. You see? That's why it's called relative valuation. And if you're going to look at metrics for relative valuation, you better damn well know market forecasting. Okay? You understand why now? The market goes down a lot. What's that do to those relative valuation metrics? It relatively destroys them, right? HM, let me just say something. You're asking me a question about the market. What's your thesis on the market continuing to go down as inflation peaks and interest rate hikes fears cool? Interest rate hikes fears cool. I don't give any type of research or forecasting on YouTube. I will not do that because you're asking me a specific forecast. I'm a research provider. I charge for my research. I'm not a YouTube. I don't do that. Okay, and I won't do that. First of all. Second of all, to provide you, if you want to know the answer to that question, even you would need to understand the full spectrum of the scenarios and the probabilities involved in what's going on. You understand? And because it's not about trying to predict what's going to happen. Nobody has a crystal ball. What you do is you analyze the situation and you try and think forward and forecast. And based upon the probabilities of things happening, you make an assessment. You make a forecast on things. You see. So it's not about your question does relate to that, by the way. Credit to you, it does relate to that. You're not saying, oh, the market's going to go up or is it going to go down? So credit to you. That's a good question because it does factor in scenarios. But my point is, I don't do this on YouTube. I don't cover this. Okay. Because even if I was going to do that, the problem is that what am I going to do? Am I going to come out every day and talk about that? See, that's the danger of someone doing daily videos. You understand? I do for each research category that I cover, I do one report per month. You understand that? You know why? The worst thing you can do is do a daily knee-jerk reaction. Why do you think Kevin goes back? He doesn't have a fucking clue. And the reason why people can't do once per month is because it's very difficult. It takes a lot of expertise and experience to do it right. I've had people ask me, how can you do that? Like, how come if it's not like if you're coming out daily with stuff about the market, that's not research. That's not forecasting. That's not insight. That's just knee-jerk. That's Jim Cramer stuff. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I would not even do it on YouTube because you say, well, okay, we'll just come out once a month. Okay, who's going to watch my channel? You're going to wait 30 days? You understand? Maybe I'll do an intermission once or twice. YouTube is not the platform for which I am going to deliver professional research. It's not set up for it. And the majority of people, I don't think, are in the position that they would want to put the time in and would even benefit from it because it takes good judgment. Like I said before, the best thing that the vast majority of you people can do is just buy the S&P index. That's the best index to buy. Okay, buy the S&P. You're not going to make a huge amount of money in a short time, but by the time that you retire, you're going to be set. You're not going to have to work at one of these retail stores like some people are having to do. Now, if you want to make fast money and you see the market as your key or cryptocurrency, here's what I have to tell you. Get off YouTube. Stop thinking you're going to make a fast buck. Spend that time improving yourself. And don't buy any courses from Teachable and Udemy and all that bullshit. That's a scam. Improve yourself. Go to legitimate, credible sources. If you want to learn something, go to college. Go to the best school you can go to. If you can't afford it, you know what? Take a loan. Say, well, I don't want to get student debt. Well, look, as long as you do well and pick a major that's marketable, that's in demand, you're not going to have a problem. And if all else fails, you know what you can do? Join the military for a few years and get your GI Bill, and they'll pay for college. In fact, I think some corporations are paying for college. I think I heard a few years ago Bank of America was doing it. There's several corporations that will pay for your college. The problem is too many people are lazy. They don't want to do this and they don't want to do that. That's where perspective can come into play. Some people, maybe most people from the Western world, especially America, maybe you should spend some time in the developing world and see how those people, how they live, how they work, and how spoiled many people are in the West. You see? Then you get a perspective. And most of those people in the developing world, they're working their ass off and they're getting nowhere. Because in those countries, let me tell you something. For the most part, if you're not born into money or you have friends and family that are connected to officials, you're going nowhere. There's no opportunity. Generally speaking, that's fact. I know this. Okay? So it's the person that's greedy and doesn't want to work on themselves is the person that gets nowhere in life. So I'm saying all the people spending all this time, I mean, it's bad enough people spend time watching CNBC and Fox and all their stock garbage think that they're going to go and do research. No, you can't do stock research. I'm telling you right now. It's hard enough for the pros to do it. And the problem is that, okay, well, everyone's a genius in the bull market. It's like going to the casino. Are you going to win? Yeah, you can win. But you know who the real winners are that go to the casino? The real winners are the guys that leave the fucking table and never go back when they're up. Because if you go back, you're going to lose it all. See, that's what happens when you don't know what you're doing and you get lucky. If you get lucky, leave and never return. Same thing with the stock market. If you don't really know what's going on or are truly in a position to strive to eventually learn, buy an index fund. And just buy an index fund and enjoy your life, man. I'm telling you. Or, folks, the best way to improve yourself, your financial position, is not investing. It's making money. Improve. If money's important to you, right, then improve your skills, right? Focus on your career. And if money's not that important to you, hopefully it's not that important, then I say focus on your family and your friends. You understand? This mentality, once again, the people that fall, I'm not going to say everybody, because there's a lot of tricks and scams out there to convince people. But many people, most people probably who fall for these hucksters on YouTube, they're greedy. They want money. They want to eat, right? I'm not going to say everybody, because like I said, there's tricks. Like for instance, you think, well, okay, yeah, I'm an investor. I'm going to take advantage of what's going on. It's a great bull market. And so you look at Kevin's channel. Oh gosh, he got 2 million subscribers. Wow, everyone says things positive about him. He's got all these likes. He must be great. I mean, people are asking, okay, Kevin, how are you qualified? Forget the likes, forget the subs. What's your track record? And you see, people don't do that. I mean, it's just amazing to me, right? Well, listen, I'll just tell you something. I tell everybody this. If I had not worked on Wall Street for so long and been in that position, and I took advantage of it, everything I know, and I'm still learning, by the way. There's no like goal. If you're an investor, you have to keep learning. I don't care how old you are, because the market's always changing. Things are always changing. This is what happened to Warren Buffett. He got too comfortable. You see, he made so many terrible decisions. But you have to keep learning. If I were not you know, practicing on other people's money, right? And in a position where I could actually, you know, learn a lot. Honestly, I would not be an investor. Knowing what I know, I just buy an index fund. Knowing what I know, I'm telling you. You know, Julius, everybody wants something kind of they can wrap their arms around, and there's not really a process. Anyone who tries to sell you a process is either ignorant or they're a scammer. Because it's not, you're not dealing with something that's static or fixed, right? The market's always changing. There's always different situations. I have certain things that I do and I look at, but it depends upon a lot of things. You see, it depends upon a lot of things. The people that try and sell you simple solutions to complex problems are people you should run away from very fast. They're con artists. You know, everybody wants a simple solution to everything, of course, but you got to understand that there are some things that there's not simple solutions to, right? Good example. I mentioned this the other day. You know, if you're let's say you're an engineer. If you're an engineer, if you're a civil engineer, you've gone through school. Of course, you know, going through engineering school, you're not really an engineer. You know, it takes you several years, like most things, to learn what engineering is, right? You don't use a lot of that stuff. But let's say you've been on the job now for 10 years as an engineer, civil engineer, and let's say that you're involved in building roads, right? Well, is there kind of a routine thing that you do for that? Yeah, of course there is, right? Why? Because you understand all the variables. You know what you're dealing with. It's kind of a finite situation to some degree, right? You've been trained for that specifically. Because engineering is based on, it's applied science, it's applied chemistry, applied physics, right? But the investment world is much different. There is no finite situation, any finite variables. In fact, I think the key thing, one of the key things I found is to understand when to overweigh certain variables and when to underweigh those same variables. Because sometimes certain variables that you look at are going to be much more important than other variables, you see? Likewise, one of the most important things is to understand what types of strategies are the best and have the best risk reward during certain periods, during certain market environments. In fact, this is why many hedge funds don't really do that well long term. One of the main reasons why is because they're fixed on a certain strategy, you see? So you may have a debt arbitrage fund. Okay. Well, there's certain economic environments where that's good, and certain economic environments where it's not good. You see, or you know, a lot of guys they're a macro event, you know, event driven. You know, there's certain guys who are mainly short. Their strategy is a shorting strategy, right? Obviously, shorting doesn't do well during certain periods. Namely, you know, generally speaking, the past several years, a lot of the short funds closed shop because they were shorting the market and it kept going up. You see what I'm saying? So that's actually one of the most important things I think that you can get your hands around is to try and look at it from a bigger picture standpoint in terms of what types of basic strategies are good for certain environments. Okay. You see what I'm saying? So I'll give you an example. You know, over the next few years, we're likely to see, you know, and I'm kind of waiting for this, is you're going to see a more lucrative situation for distressed securities analysis. Now, I was running a webinar series that focused on that. I still do. But it's kind of like, I gave a webinar the other day and I said, look, guys, there's nothing distressed yet to look at. So I gave them some educational lessons instead and talked about some other things. You should not try and force something. Don't look for opportunity, right? Don't go out searching for opportunity. Wait until you see it. Because if you're looking for opportunity, you're going to make more mistakes. If you're always looking for opportunity, you're assessing things. And it's the same thing with kind of people who want to, one reason why these people that trade stocks, that day trade and short-term trade, why they don't last. The reason why is because there's certain periods that are more ideal for short-term trading. And there's certain periods that are not good for short-term trading, right? And so there are periods when you really shouldn't be doing a whole lot of short-term trading, right? And periods when you should do a lot. The problem is when you're doing this for a living, you're forcing yourself every day to make a trade. And that's the mistake. And this is the mistake that all these YouTubers are doing. Because everybody's coming and saying, oh, what can you buy? What can you buy? Right? Of course, eventually when people realize the market hasn't even priced in any chance of a recession, it still hasn't priced it in, as far as I'm concerned. But once it does price it in, then some of these YouTubers are going to start to recommend shorting stocks. Mark my words. You see? But anyway. So yeah, I mean, understand. You got to understand that. Ask yourself, in the world, are how many really true professionals out there and research providers? There's not a lot of credible independent boutique research providers in the world. I can tell you that right now. Most of them are scammers and bullshit artists that do trading signals and trading alerts. I will never do trading alerts. That's bullshit. Because why? It's fundamentally a scam to begin with. Why? Because when you're giving trading signals and trading alerts, assuming everyone's going to get the same execution, get it at the same time, which is not going to be the case. Assuming all of that, you're basically telling people, hey, buy this now, sell this now. And you can't do that because everyone's different. Everyone has a different risk profile. So by doing that, you're setting people up to fail. That's why the alert system fundamentally is a complete scam. You see? Everybody understand that? And listen, having the skill to understand trading is valuable. I use it for active management, right? Active management of stocks. There's a difference between active management, in my opinion, and trading, right? If you are an investor of NVIDIA and you see it soar and you say, oh shit, I'm going to sell it because I see it's going to collapse at $300, I'm going to sell it. That's different, right? You're going to come back to NVIDIA at a better time, you see? That's what all active management, active investors should hope to achieve, that type of situation. So the key is that you are long-term, you want the stock, but there's certain periods where it may be good to sell it, you see, and get back into it at a lower cost. And I'm talking even before this, even before this year. There's always those types of situations going on. And you can't just do it. You have to know a lot about valuation. You have to know a lot of things. It's not a simple thing to do, okay, generally speaking. But that's not trading stocks. I mean, just trading. People are just looking for the trade of the day. Oh, it's hot today. That's a loser's game, I'm telling you. Okay? It's a loser. If somebody out there doesn't want to believe me, and they try, listen, I wish you the best, man. I wish you the best of luck. I'm just telling you, chances are, 99.9%, if you do it long enough, you're going to lose everything. Remember, there's good periods you can get fooled, right? If you're doing short-term trading, over the past few years, you think you're a trading genius. Well, go through different periods, through, one or two full economic cycles, right? And then tell me how you do. That's, over the period of several years. That's the different story, you see. That's triple X. That's true to some extent. The problem with that is there's a lot of people out there that are not qualified to tell you what those companies are, and they pump them. So you have to ask yourself the question: if nobody knows about them, why don't they know? Right? That's a very risky thing. I think I would say, I think it's better if you're looking at companies that people aren't really that hot on, but people know about the company, generally speaking. But the investors aren't in the company; they don't really like it that much, right? There's a difference between those two, by the way. And sometimes you can make those calls, you can make winning calls for those types of companies simply by understanding the market. Simply by understanding the market. A good example, Apple. Apple historically was kind of a dog shit company. Does anybody know that? You all know that, right? It was a crappy company for a long time. Apple turned the corner. They turned the corner once they came out with the iPod. And the big move, the huge move that really changed the game was when they bought that brick and mortar music company. I forgot what it was, like in 2006. Okay? That was the game changer right there. Another example is, what 5G has done for the semiconductor industry, right? That's a market. Right? That's a rapidly growing market based upon a macro thing there. Similar, this of course you've heard about the artificial intelligence. That's also added to a lot of these stocks. But let me just tell you, folks, things can't grow that fast too long. You understand? And there is an end in sight. In fact, the semiconductor industry is characteristically very cyclical. The cycle for the semiconductors is a very complicated thing. I don't admit to understanding it fully, but I know it is quite complicated based upon the economics of that industry. For instance, it takes at least minimum 3 years, 3 to 5 years to build, a fabrication facility. You see, just that alone. In fact, Intel's building theirs now in Arizona, not far from them. Taiwan Semiconductor. They're not going to be done before 2024 probably. You see, well, what type of economy are we going to have in 2024? You see, so there's a lot of risk. That things can happen. Yeah, flip up. Speaking of Peter Lynch, it's just another example of the media trying to make someone Superman like they do Warren Buffett. Okay, Peter Lynch is nothing special. He did well. He did well during that time, right? He did, but is he somebody to always listen to? I don't think so. He's someone that did really well during a specific period of time. Okay, but what I've learned, I've seen these guys, and consistently they eventually blow up, and then you realize, well, either they got lucky or they did well. But can they? Are they able to do well during different periods, right? And I gave the story about Bill Miller last time. Bill Miller, Legg Mason's famous fund manager. Right? He was supposed to be, beat the S&P every year, 13 consecutive years, and you hear all this praise. And what happens to him? He buys big time into Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Citigroup, all these banking stocks, General Electric, all this stuff during the financial crisis because he thinks he's getting a good deal. Okay? Now, in my opinion, if you are a very experienced fund manager, like he is or was for all that time, and you're buying these stocks when they're getting creamed, thinking you're getting a good deal, that tells me that you are lucky the whole time. You're not anyone great. Okay? That's what that tells me. That's my opinion. You see what I'm saying? What's the story about me saving Jim Cramer's life? And I'm glad you brought that up. I actually saved I have screenshots of that actually. I don't have it handy, but I can show it. So basically what happened was, back I think around 2007, maybe it was, just approximately, I saw this guy on some chat board, and he was just going out after Kramer, because I guess he lost a ton of money listening to Kramer, and he was making threats on his life, like constantly. Talking about how he posted his address, and he mentioned his daughters and how this and that, and it was pretty chilling to see. Like, this guy was a sociopath, and he was doing this for the longest time. It wasn't just one comment, and I honestly felt that this guy was planning something. And I actually called CNBC, and I contacted the security, and I told them, and I pointed them to this guy. I think that saved his life. So maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I believe that I did. Do I regret it? Yeah. Maybe I did, but I have never seen anything like that myself. It was pretty bizarre. He was going on for it must be months. And it was almost as if he was had him under surveillance. He was saying things that led me to the impression that he was following along, and it was just really bizarre, right? So that's the story. Sorry, that's all there is to it. FYI, folks. Once again, the key. Can everybody hear me, by the way? Sound okay? Testing. Let's see here. I don't know. Did I lose a connection here? Is the connection lost? I can't tell. Give me a second here. Am I still connected? Okay, so once again, speaking of Peter Schiff, folks, remember, the media wants to make Superman. Okay, they want to make, this is what they do. They do it with these real estate, so-called reality TV shows. All these guys in these real estate shows are losers. They're failures. They're on there to get a celebrity status so that they can sell their books and courses afterwards. Okay, many of these guys have been convicted of fraud after that. You can look it up. That's fact. It's the same thing with the financial industry to some extent. They want to overhype these people. Why? Because they're going to tell you that Peter Lynch is God. He does great. You can make a lot of money if you listen to him. So when they interview him, you line up. Remember, ad-based content is a scam. And they write books about him, right? Of course, Peter Lynch has been kind of he's been out of the game for a long time. But just take a look at Warren Buffett. Yeah, Warren Buffett's great. I'm going to write a book the Warren Buffett way. Yeah, I'm going to buy the book. You see, you have some parasite that wants to piggyback off of Warren Buffett's celebrity status. They write a book on Warren Buffett. You're going to buy 1 million copies. Everyone's going to buy it. You understand? This is a media scam. This is the media. This is what they do. The sooner you realize there's no superstars out there, okay? The sooner you realize that, the better off you're going to be. And if there's no superstars in the professional financial world, well, what do you think that implies about YouTube? I mean, come on. Folks, listen. These people on YouTube, many of them aren't even investing. They're lying. They're just making stuff up because they don't want to lose money. They're investment disasters, many of them. So they're making up things. They're showing you false statements and all this stuff. And they're making money, bringing in views, affiliate links, Patreon. That's their gravy train. They're going to win. They're guaranteed to win, no matter where the market goes. Those people that listen to them are pretty much guaranteed to lose. I'll say 99% because there's always the luck factor, the timing factor. Someone runs across, meet Kevin, in 2020, and they sell everything because they need money in 2021 early. You understand? That's the most disgusting thing. Is you got to realize is that these people. But the whole thing now is the transparency scam. I call it the transparency scam. It's been going around the circuit for a few years now. Well, I like it because he's transparent. He's transparent, folks. Anyone that goes out of their way to show you something, right, is trying to scam you. People that try and show you on YouTube that they're giving money to this poor person on the street. They're trying to boost their popularity and get donations. And that's how they begin the donation scams, which say, hey, this is going on all over the place. People that want to show you, I'm going to show you my portfolio. First of all, what some chump on YouTube has in his investments should not matter to you. Suitability, right? What they have is what they have, based upon their risk, based upon their risk tolerance, based upon many things. Their income needs, so on and so forth. Second of all, anybody can fudge anything. Believe me. Third of all, you have people that, look, here's my portfolio. Oh, it's going down. Oh, it's going up. Okay. Show us how much money you added to it to make it go up. Folks, I'm just telling you. People that try and convince you using superficial means are scammers. Think about that. Superficial means. If someone's constantly coming out and saying, oh, I went to the University of Michigan. I went to the University of Michigan. Okay. If they're constantly coming out, with superficial stuff. Oh, look at my car. Look at my, the Ty Lopez. Look at my car. Look at my house. Oh, well, he's got money. Oh, look, I've got millions of dollars. What does it have to do with teaching you how to invest? With showing you about being prudent and diligent and understanding the market? You understand? That's appealing to your greed. And you're thinking, well, he's got money, he's got this car, he must be... It's the same scam as Tim Sykes is pulling, as Ty Lopez. All these guys are doing the same. I'm not going to say all of them. I won't say that. But guys like Meet Kevin's doing the same thing. Giving us his bogus, always talking about how he's got $20 million. That's all a lie. Write it down. Now, when I mean lie, either it's not true and or where did he get the money? Where is it from? He didn't make it in real estate, I can assure you. You understand? But he's giving you the impression that he's some great real estate investor, some great stock market investor. I'm willing to bet his claims are false. And you can tell him, let's go. $10,000. He can prove to me. I don't want to see his blotched out JP Morgan bank account where he doesn't show the names. Because you know what, folks? You can have many different people on that account. You can have your in-laws, you can have your parents, and you can also, if you're blotting out, you can also alter the numbers that you're showing. Okay? And you can also create fake tax statements. Did you know that? It's quite simple. Just get a TurboTax program or an H&R Block program and just fill it in. That's all. You see? I know how to check for valid stuff. You see? I'm just saying, understand what people are, the people that are trying to show you, like Grant Stephan with his little stupid car in the background and all this stuff, and they're always, him and his little clan of clickbaiters, they're always talking about, oh, I made $5,000 on my channel. I've noticed that many times. These people are toxic. They're very scummy people, as far as I'm concerned. They're scum of the earth. And they're not people that I would ever want to come into contact with. I'm not saying everybody on YouTube, but in particular, people that use these tactics like Grant Stephan, like Meet Kevin, right? And the sad reality is that many of these guys using these scammy tactics are the ones that have the big channels. So what type of lesson, right, do the small channel guys learn? They learn, hey, if I do this, I can get a big channel. You see? That's why I'm saying it's all the same shit. They're all in the same boat. The smaller guys, they're just lower on the ladder. They want to climb the ladder. I'm not telling you, I know how the game works. It's obvious. It's just a very toxic situation. And I know some of you get it. Hopefully some of you will think about it and understand, or maybe you'll eventually get it. To me, it's common sense, because I've been around, I've been investigating scams and cons and frauds for a very long time. It's just, things are obvious to me. But, there you go. Triple X, that's what you do, man. That's what you do. I don't know about hacking them, but I'm just saying, look, whatever you do, focus on that. And maybe if you're not doing a whole lot, well, maybe this is a good opportunity to do that, right? Wasting time. I mean, honestly, if you're going to waste time listening to people about investments, don't you think they should have really, really high credibility, right? And look, credibility is not completely shown by saying, okay, well, I worked on Wall Street, I did this. Show me the beef, show me the proof, right? And here's an important point, because I think Michael earlier said, I don't want to get to this. He said, well, there's some YouTubers I learned from. Folks, understand, this is a critical point. This is how people get sucked in to these guys. Many people know nothing or know very little about investments. And when they learn something from someone, yeah, I'm learning a lot. Wow, I feel empowered. Not knowing that what you've learned is dog shit. Is either not correct, partially correct, or even so simple and basic that it's not going to help you. You see? That's the problem. So if you're going to learn from somebody, you better learn from someone who's way high up, because they can take you higher. They can take you high. If you're learning from some chump who doesn't really know a lot, see, the problem is, how do you know someone doesn't know a lot? That's why I say, what are their qualifications? That's the first hurdle to get over. Show me your qualifications. I'm not listening to nobody under the age of 35 for anything. No offense to you that are under 35. Okay? For nothing. First of all. Second of all, what are your credentials? What are your qualifications? Oh, you have an undergraduate degree in business. Sorry, that doesn't work. That doesn't do it. You got an MBA? That doesn't do it. I've run across countless people who have their CFA certifications, right? Chartered financial analysts that are completely clueless. I kid you not. The problem is that if you don't, it's kind of it's a problem, because if you don't know what to look for, if you can't tell, if you don't know enough information, then you're fooled by people. And you think that they know what they're talking about. This is why I came on YouTube. I'm telling you. Show me somebody who's credible. I'm not saying they have to be perfect. There might be somebody, but I guarantee you they're not these guys like me, Kevin, okay, and Grant Stephan, and all these other clowns pitching this every day. They're not doing that. They're stock mo. That's just destructive. You see? You know, there might be some people that are worthy to listen to, but I can guarantee you they're not pitching all this stocks every day and saying all this. And, you know, they're not showing, you know, meet Kevin. He goes live and shows CNBC live and just sits there and waits for people to super chat him. And he makes a comment every once in a while. Folks, newsflash, people with $20 million or whatever he says today, before it was $40 million, they don't go on YouTube and stream. It doesn't happen. Unless they got that money scamming from YouTube. And I guarantee you he didn't get no $20 million scam from YouTube, not yet. Okay? So, you know, my guess is that over the next few years, reality will start to hit some people. And you better hope that it does for some of you. Because if you don't understand the reality of investing in the markets over the next few years, then that means that you're going to keep doing the same thing, and you're going to learn the hard way later on, when you probably have more money to put into the market, right? Or maybe some of you, folks, listen, the best time to make mistakes is when you're young. When you get older, it becomes more difficult to recover from anything, whether it's health or finances. And this is why, by the way, I'm particularly disgusted at the stock mo and some of these other guys that are old goats like him. They're acting like, 20-year-old YouTube scammers. That's the most, I just can't even, there's no words to really express that. It's disgusting, really. But anyway. Brandon says PE ratios don't matter. Okay, I'll hear your argument. Please tell me why they don't matter. Just curious. By the way, Brandon, are you really Tom Nash hiding under that name? Please tell me. Come on, Brandon, I'll give you a fair shot. Tell me why PE ratios don't matter. I'm interested in your argument. Or are you being sarcastic? Folks, listen. I am the first person to come out and say that PE ratios are over-relied upon. Okay? I'll be the first person to come out and tell you that. Because they are. But to say that they don't matter and that they're not important it's mind-boggling to me. PE ratios are very important. Okay? But they're not something you should completely rely on for many reasons. Right? And, in fact, PE ratios are extremely important during this period. They're extremely important for many reasons. And so somebody that says that, how can I believe that they have any inkling of a background in anything related to financial analysis, much less having worked on for top 4 Wall Street firms as an analyst? It's impossible. There's no way. Right? Probably most of you here understand that PE ratios are not insignificant, are useless, right? Like Tom Nash says. I don't think any of you would say PE ratios are a waste of time, they're useless, and only clowns look at PE ratios. That's what he said. I mean, who would say that? Who would say that? That's bizarre. Some of the things that come out of his mouth are bizarre, Really. And once again, the problem I have is he made these claims to suck people in. Oh, I worked on Wall Street, right? He didn't. You see? I'm telling you, yeah, I'm a Wall Street insider. I'm not here to market myself. I'm here to let you know that I know what I'm talking about. So you better listen. You understand? And I mean, I could sit here and tell everybody every single day and wear a shirt from my Ivy League university. That doesn't matter. How is that going to prove that I know what I'm talking about in the stock market? Right? It doesn't prove jack. Jeremy Siegel is a business professor at Wharton, University of Pennsylvania. Right? He's a clown. I mean, he's a clown. He's a professor. Right? I believe the guy's a clown. And this is a guy, of course, he's a stock pumper, and he's one of these guys, oh no, the market's going to keep going up. Why? Because if you look into the guy, he's actually involved in a newsletter service. I mean, think about that. What credible, respectable professor at a top university in a business school is going to get involved in newsletters? Like, that's bizarre. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's kind of creepy to me. That alone is scary. But then you look at, so Jeremy said, no, my books were pulled from the printer, unforeseen, without, a while back. But, Kathy Wood should get that book, because I detail healthcare IT in that book and telemedicine and so forth. Maybe if she'd gotten that book, she wouldn't have bought Teladoc. I mean, if anybody knows that area, it's me. And first of all, the fact is that, as I told my customers in the past, I said, look, for the most part, at this stage, that area, that is healthcare IT and telemedicine, is not a market on its own. In other words, very few companies are positioned to do well in that market. It's kind of like, to some degree, it's kind of like cybersecurity, where, yeah, there's some good cybersecurity companies like, Palo Alto Networks and a couple of others, but you would think that industry would be huge, right? Given the demand and the need. But the fact is that cybersecurity, to some extent, has been interspersed, has been sprinkled throughout big corporations. So it's not a huge industry on its own, at least at this point, because of that. Telemedicine is the same thing. Whereas you have, for instance, you don't have a whole lot of peer players that are able to get into the game, at least right now. And I don't see it happening anytime real soon. I'm not saying there can be, but just given the dynamics of the industry, it's not going to work. Okay? Healthcare IT is a little bit better. So, you have companies like Cerner, which is a pretty good company. I think Cisco, is acquiring them. That's probably a pretty good acquisition. But you see, the reason for this is because when you're dealing with something like Teldocs or a similar company, or Teldoc, I guess, you're having to basically capture a marketplace, right? So it's kind of to some extent, it's like if you came out with a new beverage and you're a small company and you wanted to compete with Coke and Pepsi, and your beverage, even if your beverage tasted really good, what chances do you have? Tell me, what kind of chances do you have? Your chances are very low. Why? Because that industry is not about selling you the best beverage, the best tasting beverage. That industry is about merchandising, distribution chains, manufacturing scale, scaling manufacturing processes, many things, and including, by the way, controlling shelf space. I mean, think about it. Coke and Pepsi are paying for shelf space. You understand that, right? There's a lot of good products that don't get any shelf space because they're not paying the money to the retailers. That's how it works. You see? So, in terms of something like Teldoc, Kathy Wood's such an idiot for even. She's an idiot. Once again, I'll debate Kathy Wood. I won't call her names. I'll just completely expose her for the clown that she is. So Teldoc, think about this company. They're having to go out there and sell their services, their remote services. What do they offer? They need to get providers in their network. Well, think about how they're going to compete with a mega company like United Healthcare or any of the other big insurance companies, which are very well diversified. United Healthcare, right? Cigna, right? Anthem, Humana, those guys, they've got customer relationships, right? They're already dealing with customers. And many of them, of course, these companies, they're also dealing with big corporations. They're dealing with huge plans. So United Healthcare is going to tell some of these companies, maybe they say, they're going to say, fuck off. We don't need you. You understand what I'm saying? It's not just about looking at what you think is a good technology. That's the very beginning. You have to understand how the industry works as well. Healthcare IT is a little bit better, but still, it's kind of the similar situation. And eventually, these large health insurers are probably going to be more comprehensive and diversified and integrate some of these things into their plans. In fact, I think United Healthcare does already have something competing with Teldocs. Teldoc might be bought out by a company. I mean, hell, stock keeps going down. It's cheap enough, but I don't even know much about the company at all. Other than I would have touched it. People ask me about it over the past year. I said it's garbage, over and over again. And then I looked at their earnings, and I see like all of their assets, other than their cash, are intangible in goodwill. What? That's scary. I mean, take a look at their assets. I think it was like, I don't think the write-down has been reflected, but I think they wrote down $6 billion or so because that garbage company they bought. And I think if you look at the total assets, the intangible assets plus the goodwill, it's probably like 17 billion and change. They had the $6 billion, I don't think it's come off there yet. And then if you look at the total assets is 17 and change. I think the intangible and the goodwill is like 16, and then you have like 1.2 or 3 cash. I mean, they have virtually no tangible assets. So think about that. Do they have? That's bizarre. But anyway, listen, folks. I tell everybody. I'll go ahead and give you another little tip. Someone asked earlier. I tell my customers, I say, look, whenever you think about it, and I don't look at financial statements as low yield. Okay, you do want to look at some things, but if you're sitting there paying a whole lot of attention to financial statements, you're wasting your time for many reasons because there's too much accounting trickery. These companies, they have top people that know how to beat the game. Okay, you're not gonna be able to spot stuff. So you look at some metrics, of course, and some certain things, yeah. But I don't spend that much time on the financials going through it because it's low yield and it can give you a false sense of security when the company reports that they have to resubmit their statements or their financial statements for the past 2 years because they engage in accounting misappropriations, which happens all the time, by the way. Right? So I look at things that are less reliant on that. But the one thing I do tell people for sure to always look at is always take a look at the goodwill. Okay? Always, just go and take a look. Many companies don't have any goodwill. When a company's got a large goodwill, you need to look into it and ask yourself, okay, why do they have the goodwill? What did they acquire? Okay, let's take a look at this company. Is there a risk there? And as you all know, Warren Buffett, right, with 3G, I call the Brazilian baboons, 3G Capital in Brazil, they came in and they bought Heinz, merged it with Kraft, and you see what happened. The stock collapsed because they overvalued the whole deal and they had to write down the deal by 20 billion or so, I believe, right? That was goodwill. You see? So goodwill is, so in other words, what I do typically, I look for red flags, or I look for things that cause me to look further. So I don't have like typical things I look at, but what I do is I look for kind of reasons to look at something more closely. So, if a company's got a lot of debt, I'll look at the financials and get an idea what's going on with the debt. Another thing, by the way, I'll give you guys a little trick here, is the accounting rules change, and most people don't even know this, okay? I can guarantee you. In fact, I probably shouldn't even say it. I should keep this as an ammo. I'm not going to say it yet. I'm not going to say it. But that's a trick there. That's kind of one that, I mean, most of the time it's not going to matter, but I think, look, when you're dealing with companies that don't have any earnings and that are highly valued, listen, you better look at the goodwill. Really, because what do they have? In fact, in Teldoc, in that case, what are their assets? Other than 1.2 billion in cash, they don't have it, right? Well, they got intangible assets. You see, so I don't know anything about the company, but I'm just saying it's you can't just look at the technology, okay? Because you've got big players out there, and even just because you don't know it doesn't mean they don't have competitive technologies. I can guarantee you that many of these big guys do. In fact, I'm willing to bet. I'm almost guarantee you United Health has a telemedicine platform. I'll guarantee you they do. So, the question becomes, well, so why are you focused on this? A lot of people, they would focus on something like this because they say, wow, this is amazing technology, right? This is where it comes in understanding the market, right? Do you know who's the competition? right? Find out where the competition is. There's always competition. You know, when I was working in the private markets of venture capital, you know, one of the first signs of a clown, this is known in the industry. You know, you talk to investors, and, you know, you expect a lot of naive people, because a lot of, you know, the first red flag, like, you may not get a chance to, like, if you say this, you're probably going to, you don't get a chance to really pitch your company, is when you're asked, well, what's your competition? And if you say nobody, you forget it, you're done. Okay? And the reason why the VCs will just walk away is because there's always competition. In fact, even when there's not, maybe you should imagine that there could be. You know, well, there might be. You pose scenarios. You know why? Because VCs want to see good management. They want to see management that's proactive, and it's accounting for all possibilities. You see, this is a game of war. It's a game of war, people. When you're starting a company, you got a newer company. You know, it's a battleground. You don't say, oh, we don't have any competition because our technology is the best. Nobody, we're going to beat everybody. You see. So that's basically, yeah. Well, listen, you know what? Trolls are never going to learn anything. Okay, they're going to continue their stuff, and they can do whatever they want to do. Right? I'm not here. I mean, think about why would I have trolls when I'm not specifically sitting here and just bashing specifically individuals? Yeah, I mentioned Tom Nash, me, Kevin. I doubt there's any of those trolls here. They're fans. Okay, you understand? Because they don't want everyone else to know, or they want to keep believing. You see? I mean, think about it, folks. Listen, if you want this message to help, share my video. People need to know about Tom Nash, right? Pressure him to answer. How? The best way is if you look at his videos and they've got 100,000 views. You see? He's going to have to respond somehow. And that's when the fun begins. You see? You see what I'm saying? But, you know, the reality is, you know, I'll probably be gone here in a few months, probably never to show up again. And, you know, let these guys go back to their game of doing this stuff. YouTube wasn't doing this a few years ago, okay? This kind of just exploded. What you had a while back, which was a little concerning, is you had the guys like this Anton Creel in the Trading Institute, and you had Tim Sykes, and you had kind of those guys pulling a little trading garbage. And honestly, as bad as those guys are, YouTube now with these chumps is much worse. It's just shocking what's going on to me. It's shocking, honestly. Anyone who understands what I'm talking about, you know, you've seen how the whole system completely transformed. It's, you know, I thought it was bad before, but those guys are pretty much kind of going into hiding. Because why? Because their game, their pitch is old school. It doesn't work anymore, right? What works now is to come out every day and talk about, you know, these guys are YouTube. They look at their analytics and stuff, and they look at the hot words, and so they make a video based on that, and they'll pretend like they're going after me, Kevin, or some other guy that's got a lot of subs by trashing them. They'll give you their stock analysis, which is no better. This is the game, and also the circle jerk. A lot of these guys are in the same little clan. You may not know that, but they're all kind of playing together. I'm telling you, folks. So, you know, I mean, what's going on now is it's pretty shocking. And I told people last year, and you know, I told customers, I said, look, what's going on in the market with all these kids at YouTube and all this crap? The market's going to crash. It has to crash. I want it to crash. It must crash. Trash needs to be filtered. The market needs to be cleansed of garbage and all. This type of garbage. It distorts the market. You understand? I want a clean market that investors can do well in because they're looking at fundamentals. They understand things. Not all this garbage. And the market must be cleansed, and it's in the cleansing process right now. Right? It's in the cleansing process. So, you know, honestly, the best thing that can happen is the market will cleanse itself in a short period of time. You know, over the next 8 to 12 months. That's the best. The worst thing that can happen is it can take a few years. Right? Now, actually, the best way to get rid of the trash, and I'm not what I'm saying when I say trash is the trash content, the things that are causing people to go into to make the market a casino. Right? The best thing for that is actually for this to be long and drawn out, for the pain and suffering, and for people to realize, hey, you know what? I'm not watching YouTube anymore for stock advice because I've lost everything. You see? Yeah, well, of course, YouTube was good before Google. I said this before. When Google bought it, they destroyed YouTube, okay? Ad-based content is a scam. And this has been a progressive situation. Back in 2006, YouTube was not monetized. Google bought them. Monetization was a slow process. It was still okay for a few years, right? And then it's gradually gotten worse and worse and worse to the point even that YouTube has actually empowered the scum by creating super chats. You know, they created more ways for eBay. You had the Patreon parasites come in, right? And YouTube now is creating more ways because they know more advertisers are getting off their platform because there's so many scams. So now YouTube is more about internal advertising. It was more external before. Now you're getting more internal scam artist advertising, right? And, you know, of course, YouTube takes a cut. They get a cut of super chats, 30% or so, 40%, I'm not sure. All this stuff. You know, it's folks, people that know me know I've been warning about ad-based content for well over a decade. I learned firsthand. If something is ad-based content, it's a scam. It's either complete trash, low-yield garbage, or it's a scam. I'm telling you. Ad-based content that's triggered with ads. This is why we had the problem. I talked about this the other night. People are forced now with massive content. You can't, it's impossible for you to get through to good quality content unless you're a pure expert. Why? Because you have to be a pure expert to find it. You can't find it accidentally or by so-called researching. Because there's too much content to filter through. And the algorithm creates confirmation bias. That's why it's impossible to put more research. You can't do it. You have to already know. You can't do because you're going to look for something, and the algorithm is going to keep you into the mesh of garbage. This is what I'm telling people. It's all about quantity because they can tag advertisements to everything, you see? That's how it works. It's all about pumping out dog shit. And the game is going to continue until people wake up to this and realize what's going on. I mean, you see? But even then, you've got people, because of the cult formation on YouTube, it's cult. These are all cults on these channels. They're in a cult. They lose $100,000, $500,000 listening to Tom Nash on Tesla, and they tell them they appreciate his honesty and shit like this. I mean, these people deserve what they're getting. Really. They deserve. You know, if you lose on something, okay. But if you remain a gullible moron who's your own worst enemy, how can anyone feel bad for that person? You see what I'm saying? Everybody understand? Yeah, well, I'm just telling you. Jeremy's dad, name me some good finance channels. Go ahead. This is your shot. Give me some good finance channels. Go on. Give me some good finance channels, right? I want to see the channels. Okay? I'm just telling you right now, just because you think something is good, well, good for what? Good because you think you're learning something? Good because you're entertained? Good because the person makes sense? When you're talking about investments, it's a very serious thing. Okay? And, you know, bottom line is this. Honestly, if they don't have the credentials, forget it. If they don't have the credentials, that's the first step. Beyond the credentials, then I'll take a look. If you got the credentials. Why? Folks, somebody you think might know it. Where are these people going for their information? They may be copying somebody. For instance, anybody remember Lenny Dykstra? You all know Lenny Dykstra, the baseball player? They called him Nails. Remember that? Lenny Dykstra? You all know Lenny Dykstra? Lenny Dykstra was some guy, I think with the Mets. They called him Nails. Well, about, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years ago, maybe 14 years ago, Jim Cramer was on CNBC telling everybody that Lenny Dykstra is one of the great ones. Take a look on YouTube. I'm sure you can find the video. Just type in Real Money or TheStreet.com or CNBC, Jim Cramer, Lenny Dykstra. Lenny Dykstra, Jim Cramer. Okay? He went on national TV and told Lenny Dykstra, if you don't know who he is, the guy's like, he seems like he's more brain dead than Mike Tyson. Like, the guy is like, he's that off, okay? Look into the story of Lenny Dykstra. Okay? Jim Cramer told the world Lenny Dykstra knows how to pick stocks. No, he's great. Actually, I think it's Bernard Goldberg, who used to work for HBO. I think he interviewed him on, you can find it on YouTube, I'm sure. It's hilarious. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch the interview. He's going into Lenny Dykstra's mansion, it's all empty, and it's foreclosed on. And Bernard's like, well, people say that you're broke. Lenny, what do you have to say? And Lenny's like, he pulls out his money. He's like, you see this? And he counts like $150. Yeah, I look broke to you? And Bernard's like, well, Lenny, I mean, just because you have $100, it doesn't mean that you're... folks, I'm telling you, you gotta watch the video, okay? You gotta watch the video, please. Lenny Dykstra, just type in Lenny Dykstra, D-Y-K-S-T-R-A, Jim Cramer, and you'll find it eventually, this interview where they showed it. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Jim Cramer pitched him on his Real Money bullshit website, the little newsletter crap, you know, it's like Motley Fool, garbage, you know? And so anyway, my point is that Jim Cramer told everybody this brain dead former baseball player Jim Cramer said, I quote, he's one of the great ones. One of the great ones. That's what he said, okay? And he did this because, you know, Jim Cramer, part of his scam is that he pitches his Real Money and Street.com service. There's many things he does. But anyway, so the point is that obviously the guy didn't know his head from his ass. I knew that, I saw that. But finally, it was exposed that this guy was actually getting stock picks from another person. Another guy was giving him, I think it was options trading or something. I don't know how it did. I don't think he did too well. But nonetheless, he was getting his stuff from other people. And then since then, you know, he went bankrupt, he went to jail, and, you know, my point is that, so, that's why I say, me personally, knowing what I know, I mean, for instance, people could be copying me, my information, and I don't know about it, right? That's why I say, show me someone who's got real credibility in the industry, okay? And then I'll take a look at them. They don't have to be like, you know, superstar or anything like that. Reasonable, sound, you know, not going every day and giving you the latest stock analysis. That's a bunch of baloney. That's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, that was like the game, you know, last year, right? When you could do that and you look like a star because everything was going up. People are looking for insight and guidance, okay? And I'd like to see if there's anybody on YouTube that has any real credible insight and guidance, because I don't think that they do. Just my guess. You know, you may think that they're, you know, hey, listen, good luck. I hope it works out for you. But once again, when you're thinking that you can go on YouTube, and it's just like going on YouTube and finding, you know, you're relying on a YouTube attorney to give you free legal advice. Really? Right? I mean, you know, or, you know, they've got the quacks on YouTube. Dr. Berg, you know, the chiropractor who is disinformation, and, you know, he fools a lot of people because he's a good talker and he knows some things, but the guy's full of shit. He's a danger. I mean, I can assure you that. He's whack. So I'm just saying, you know, YouTube is not the solution. It's not. Most of these people talking about investments, they should stick to what they're qualified to speak on, which might be something like Britney Spears, Taylor Swift, or LeBron James. Okay? If somebody's qualified, that's the question. Do you understand why and how someone's qualified? And that's the question you should ask about anything. When people are talking about going on a platform, giving people advice on things that can be life-changing, it's a very important thing. You know? And even then, you got guys like Jim Cramer. Okay, he had a fund. Okay, he's qualified. Well, maybe. I mean, his advice, what he talks about is garbage. He's a disaster, right? I mean, of course, in Jim Cramer's case, there's a different motivation there. Jim Cramer's gaining his audience. He's got a whole, once again, for those of you who didn't hear this earlier, I highly encourage you to go online and look for this title. It's called The Story of Dendron. You all know Dendron? I don't know if it's still around. It's a biotech company. D-E-N-D-R-O-N. The Story of Dendron. And the article is on Deep Capture, which is Patrick Barnes' website, Deep Capture. The story of Dendron. The story of Dendron. It may be a PDF you can find online. It's a very long, very, very long article, and it talks about the connections of Jim Cramer that go down deep to the core, and the people that they're involved with, and some of the unscrupulous activities and other things that they were involved with. And once you read that, you're going to understand, people that are in the media, in the financial media, they're up to a lot of no good. They're not there reporting. They're there for other reasons. I'm telling you. Read that. The story of Dendron. Okay? The story of Dendron. Deep Capture. Read it. You're going to learn about Mike Milken. You're going to learn about Kramer's Associates. All this garbage, by the way. Okay? Folks, I'm just saying, look, honestly, YouTube is a platform where people are getting away with things that they would not otherwise get away with, I can assure you. And at some point, there's going to be a problem. At some point, there's going to be a problem. And, there's all kinds of scams going on. I talked about this on YouTube. There's no regulation. YouTube doesn't care. All YouTube cares about is, you can't say things that aren't politically correct, right? You can't say, but you can scam the hell out of people. You can clickbait the hell out of people. You can tell them to do irresponsible things and this and that. And once again, look, when you're a channel the size of Graham Stephan or Meet Kevin, and Graham Stephan has a different ballgame, okay? His game is different. Let's say Meet Kevin, and you're reaching a lot of people. The standards change, okay? The standards change. And by the way, can I mention something to you? Once again, Meet Kevin has lied about his income and his net worth. Write it down. Tell him I said so. Graham Stephan, same thing. They're the fake it till you make it guys. This young generation thinks that fake it till you make it's legal. It's not. It's illegal. It's a scam. You can't do that. The Federal Trade Commission will sue you. The State Attorney General, for which you reside, will sue you if there's enough complaints, if people complain enough. Okay? No sane person who has $40 million is going to go and tell everybody every day and go on YouTube and steer people into the toilet. You know why? Because the more money that people know that you have or think that you have, the easier you are to sue. This is known. Everybody knows this. Okay? I'm telling you. Fact. And by the way, one more thing about Meet Kevin. He was sued by Dave Ramsey a few years ago, as I mentioned before. Meet Kevin, the self-proclaimed successful real estate agent who was so successful he bought into Dave Ramsey's referral program, his lead program. If you're a successful real estate agent, why are you going to some fucking scam artist? Dave Ramsey, the guy that preaches Christianity. I'm a Christian, yeah, money. The guys that preach religion so they'll get the religious zealots into their cult. Anyone that preaches religion, says anything about religion and money, is a scammer. End of story. Dave Ramsey, the guy that tells you that, you should buy loaded index, or you should buy loaded mutual funds and don't buy index funds. Loaded mutual funds, yeah, some of them cannot perform because, of course, he's got his little group that sells those funds. What a scammer. What a piece of garbage. But anyway, he sued Kevin. And guess what? Kevin, they settled out of court. Do you know why? Because Kevin did not want to reveal his financial statements. He didn't want to reveal his financial position to Dave Ramsey. You know why? Because once you do that, it's public information. So Kevin was desperate to settle. Think about that one. FYI. Everybody follow me on that? Right? Look, Dave Ramsey, in fact, he had this obese financial advisor, some black dude. I remember I was going to expose him on a video like a couple of years ago, and I never got to it, and I kind of found it in my archives, and it turns out the guy, I think he's like banned from the financial, he did something criminal. But that's what Dave Ramsey does. Look, he preaches the whole, get out of debt. Look, nobody needs anyone to tell them to be no one needs a consumer finance person, okay? You want consumer finance? Okay, I'll make a 5-minute video. That's it. That's all you need. Okay? Don't use credit. Save your money. Buy insurance. Just stupid things that don't change. That's all you need. 5 minutes. But Dave Ramsey's made a perpetual business out of it. Why? To lure people in, many of which you are in financial trouble. Right? That's the lowest hanging fruit, the most vulnerable people, the most desperate people, same people who bought into the Trump University, right? People thinking that, well, if they just pay Trump's con man $50,000 after 3 days, they'll have, great real estate opportunities. Dave Ramsey pulls these people in with stupid things that don't require any expertise at all. Why? Because he gets you into the network. He gets you to go to he's forming a cult. He's got a cult. Buy his books, go to his speaking events. Oh, he's got financial guys for you too. You want to help with your finances? You understand? Dave Ramsey's a scammer. You can tell him I said so. Please do. I'd love the chance. Now, if Dave Ramsey wants to debate me, we're going to have to be on a neutral platform. I won't invite no hillbilly on his platform where he can cut me off. Yeah, Dave Ramsey's a joke, man. He's no better than Susie Orman, another consumer finance con. Actually, I'll take that back. Dave Ramsey hasn't been reprimanded or sued by the federal officials yet. Susie Orman was scamming people with her credit report nonsense. I think the Federal Trade Commission went after her, right? Unbelievable, man. Folks, this is what I'm saying, okay? Look, there's so many scammers out there. America's turned into a scam nation. And the media is a big reason why, by the way, okay? Tony Robbins. Remember Tony Robbins? You haven't heard a lot from Tony lately. I've exposed Tony. I was exposing Tony Robbins a long time ago. Tony Robbins, for those of you who may not remember. So Tony Robbins, you haven't heard a lot from him lately. You know why? Because Tony Robbins screwed up. And you all know Tony Robbins. Does anybody think Tony Robbins is legitimate, by the way? Tony Robbins, the life coach guy. Tony Robbins is the reason why there's a life coach industry. I see more and more people like, what do you do? I'm a life coach. Like, what? Life coach? You're like 30 years old and what are you going to tell me about life? If anything, I want somebody who's 80, okay? I want someone who's lived life. Life coach? Like, what is that? See, Tony Robbins is the first fake it till you make it guy, as far as I know. He's the first one who pulled the fake it till you make it. I don't know if you guys know that. He started in the 80s. Maybe the first infomercial scammer. Even before Kevin could go. Tony Robbins, his whole thing was, oh yeah, this and that, and I learned the secrets to success. I was living in a small studio in Santa Monica. I was overweight. I was depressed, and I learned the secrets to success. That was his first infomercial pitch. Then he came out with all this garbage. Okay, and then of course Tony Robbins got into the financial business. He stole someone's financial information, got sued for that in the 90s, I think. And then more recently, after the financial crisis, when everyone wants to come out and get into that industry because it's the hottest thing, right? The scammers always go to the hottest topics because they have the audience, they got their cult members. So go to the hot stuff. It's going to sell the most, right? And so after the financial crisis, obviously, for many years, people were concerned and worried about the financial markets. Tony Robbins, he made all these videos in 2000, I think, I don't know, 12, 13, 14. He's telling me, he's like, listen, I helped this famous trader who was losing money for 10 years, and I worked with him, and I'm blessed by God that I was able to help him. You know, all this nonsense. And he comes out, he continues. I don't know if you guys see the video. It's still on YouTube. I've got to say, it's on my site actually. He comes out and says, you know, things are getting bad. He basically tells people to get out of the market, tries to scare them out of the market. Okay. So it turns out later on, of course, Tony Robbins he wrote this stupid book, Shakeable and all this garbage, which was a scam. One of the books he was actually partnering with an annuities company, right? Oh, the guy's a scammer. He's a complete scammer. But anyway, my point is that you haven't heard from Tony Robbins in the past few years. You know why? Because, and it's pretty shocking for this guy to commit this mistake, because he's a professional con man for 40 years. He should know better. Con men will never alienate anyone. They will never alienate anyone. That's why they don't want to talk about politics or take a religious stance. Well, in America you can talk about Christianity because it's so big, but they typically stay away from politics and issues that are controversial because they don't want to alienate potential suckers that they can take money from. So they won't like them. So they won't talk about difficult things. Tony Robbins, during that Me Too movement thing a few years ago, he basically came out and said, "Oh, it's kind of baloney. You know, you're letting this get to you and so forth." And, you know, most people they were with it, so they were they kind of trashed him after that. And so that's why Tony Robbins has kind of been on the download for a while. He's trying to recover his reputation because a lot of people don't know him after that. By the way. Cole, who are you talking about? 25% stocks and 75% bonds. Who is that? Let me tell you something, folks. I'm not a religious person. I think if you're sensible and you have your head clear and you grow up in America and you're religious, I think maybe you're not too alert. To grow up in America and to see how disgusting religion has been, specifically Christianity, with all these guys bilking people and scamming people and making a fortune. Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know, if there's a God, it seems like he's not too happy. Like, why would God want some guy who claims to be his messenger to be flying around in private jets? There's something wrong with that, and people support them. It's kind of like, oh, you understand how cults work now? You understand how cults work? Same thing on YouTube with some of these guys. These channels, they're losing money, and they've lost it all, and they're in a cult, so they think the guy, oh, thanks, Tom, you know, you're great, we love the drama scene. I mean, it's just shocking to me. I know all this. Why do you think I don't waste my time, folks? You can't get through. Most people are dummies. It's a waste of time. That's why I'm not going to build a channel. I know the deal. I know how things work, okay? That's the reality. I mean, I've never read the Bible, but someone tell me who's read the Bible, who's religious, tell me, would God be happy to see all this money worshiping by, well, I mean, I won't talk about what's going on in America, but let's keep it to the churches. When you've got preachers of small churches making a lot of money. I'm not talking small churches. I'm not even talking about, you know, these big televangelists. I'm talking about the standard now. I mean, honestly, one of the best careers to get into in America now is to become a preacher. I swear to God. You don't have to be a televangelist. You don't have to have a big church. You're going to get a house to live in. You're going to get a car. They're going to give you a car to drive. They're going to pay your insurance. And they're going to give you a 6-figure salary. You have virtually no expenses. This is standard for small churches. You all know this, right? You all understand this, right? This is why I've been turned off to religion. Because religion was man-made, okay? God didn't make religion. Man made religion to control people and to manipulate people. You don't need religion if you want to worship a God, right? You don't need religion to worship a God. You don't need YouTube investing gurus to invest in the market. Okay, just buy an index fund. That's all you need. Okay. See, I don't know the story. I didn't even see Mel Gibson's movie, The Passion of Christ. You know, I don't know anything about that stuff. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about the big things like people follow and get sucked into. It just kind of seems a little strange. There's how many versions of the Bible there are. So many people they're obsessed. With JFK and the assassination. I don't know anything about that. I mean, I have my ideas, but I don't obsess over that. Or Adolf Hitler and all this stuff. What did he do? This and that? I have no idea. I don't know anything about the guy. Never read any books. There's a reason why people pump these things out and they become big followings. You see, for one of many reasons. One of the most common reasons is money. Another common reason is control and manipulation, right? But the religion factor, obviously, it's money. Okay, any control that they want is to get your money. It's pretty obvious. When you have people, I don't understand it. You have people that know the Bible. I don't think Jesus is a money worshiper. Was he? I think he was the opposite, wasn't he? And you have people that actually don't. So wait a second. Why is this guy making $100 million a year? Why is he making? As far as I'm concerned, if I'm a preacher or a priest in a church, it's my responsibility to be earning the lowest amount of money of any of the patrons. Okay, that's what needs to happen. I need to earn less than anybody. Why? Because I'm supposed to hold myself in a little higher situation. I'm here for a mission. I'm supposed to be a messenger of God, right? I mean, to me, it's common sense. But apparently, these guys are making more money in many cases than everybody in the church. You see? And by the way, there's some guys, before this whole pandemic YouTube explosion began, there's some guys on YouTube. I forgot, I think I didn't expose the guy, but he was in my archives to do for several years ago. I think his name is Robinson. He's another one of these guys. And by the way, most of these guys that pitch Christianity and investments, they're not even truly real Christians. They're just pretending to be. Just like Dave Ramsey. I mean, Dave Ramsey might be a Christian, but his bloodline is not. He's not a Gentile, by the way. Okay, just like Benny Hinn. Benny Hinn. You think Benny Hinn is a Gentile? Benny Hinn's from Israel. Okay, most of these financial charlatans or these religious charlatans are not. They're not. They're just coming into the game to fleece people because they know it's a cult. So they don't care. It's not their religion. They don't care. But I think this guy Robinson, he was doing the same crap. In fact, there's many of these guys. What is this in Hebrew? There's a special date or something in 2015. Something was supposed to happen. I forgot. Shamala or something. Anybody know what I'm talking about? SH something. There was some type of thing, and there were people that were relating this to the stock market. Oh, it's going to collapse when this happens. No, I'm sorry. It was 2017. Something. Anybody know what I'm talking about? SHE or something. Anybody know that? They were relating this to the stock market, and they were saying something about, oh yeah, God's going to come, and it's the end of. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? By the way, Shamila or something. I guess nobody knows. Anyway, there were people that were pulling this thing as well, and there were people that fell for it. Just like that. You remember the Mayan calendar? I don't know how many years ago it was. Like something really bad was supposed to happen. The end of the world. Anybody remember that? So it is Shamila? Is that what it is? Right? Yeah. So I mean, you had people. I saw a video the other day. In fact, with a con man who was telling people that, the market's going to go up, and then when this happened, when the Shamila, Donald Trump comes in, and the next year everything's going to collapse. Yeah, the Mayan calendar. Remember that? I mean, everybody. I was like, everybody. They asked me, I was like, what are you talking about? Are you insane? Like, do you believe this? I mean, I don't understand how people can. It's weird, right? But it goes to show you that most people are driven by the sheep effect, right? If everyone's talking about something, people believe it. In fact, there's an experiment. I want you to Google this right now. In fact, you can find it on YouTube, I'm sure. It's called the Asch experiment. ASCE, I believe. The Asch experiment. It's an experiment in psychology in the 70s. And you have to watch this video. I'm sure they have a video. It's an experiment that shows basically where a guy comes into a group, and all the group members are going to say the wrong answer. It's obvious. And the guy that doesn't know what's going on, he says the right answer. There's someone asking a question. He says the right answer. He's like looking around like, what are you talking about? Like, it's very simple. He's thinking of it, and eventually he gives in. He starts repeating the same wrong answer that everyone else does. I mean, it's just amazing. It shows you how easily the human person can be fooled by consensus. Yes, exactly. Asch conformity. Thank you. That's exactly what it is. You know it, right? Yes, Mike Sorrell, you know it. Asch. So I want you to think about that. Okay? And read the experiment, or look for a video, and think about that when you look at these channels, and you read the comments. And that's what it's all about. And that's why you've got the multi-billion-dollar the like industry, fake comment industry, right? Fake subscriber industry. People are paying for this stuff because of that. And honestly, I think it's a bigger problem in the world than it's ever been because of the internet, because of the way these things operate, right? It's easy to manipulate things. Would you fight God for charity in a sanctioned boxing match? Well, I don't think I'd have a chance against God, right? So I would say no. No, I would not. I've never understood, by the way, the Bible. It's like, okay, there's the King George and the New Testament, the Old Testament. I can't get it straight. Like, why are there so many versions? I mean, isn't that a little bizarre? I mean, isn't that kind of a red flag? There's like how many versions of the Bible, right? Isn't that weird? I mean, it's weird, right? I will debate one of two people. People remotely on my level, which would be professional investors, fund managers, or people who are in a position to adversely impact people. In other words, they have large subscribers. Okay, those are the only two people I would. So I would lower myself to debate me, Kevin. Okay, and it wouldn't be a debate. There would be no debate. I would call him out. I would say, Kevin, why are you telling people things that are wrong? Why are you misstating things? Why are you lying about yourself? You're not a financial analyst, right? Why are you making up fake content? Why are you doing this? Why are you selling courses on things you're not qualified to speak on, to make money on? That would be the debate. That's what I would talk to him about. You understand? I think it would be more productive if you want to get me on a debate with an expert in the financial industry and investment industry. Okay, right? And that's what you should want to hear. Or even someone who is a purveyor of misinformation who reaches a lot of people, like people that talk about gold, right? They or cryptocurrencies that are impacting a lot of people. They would never share the stage with me, never, because they want to keep their misinformation alive. That's how they're making money. You see, I mean, why do you think that some of these clowns are never positioned against legitimate people? They're never really questioned, right? Think about Kathy Wood. Has Kathy Wood ever been put up against someone like legitimate in the industry who's gonna say, hey Kathy, what is this? What are you doing? Why none of your analysts are qualified? Your COO, your chief operating officer is a kid who used to sell advertisements at a weather station. That's what he did before he came to work for you. How is he qualified to be a COO? Right? Look at your analyst. None of them are experienced. I mean, I would talk about that, and I would talk about the same thing I put on one of her videos many months ago. I said, look, you're talking about deflation. You have no idea what you're talking about. There's clearly inflation, and that means rates are going to go up, and that means stocks, especially small caps and tech stocks, are going to get hammered. Namely, the stocks that you own. So I suggest you change your strategy drastically. If you want to, if you don't want to go below $50 on your fund, because that's what I told her. I forecast $50 when it was $110. I said that might be a conservative estimate if you don't drastically change what you're doing. And I also said that there's no disruptive innovation. There's none. I'm trained in science. I've worked on Wall Street for decades. Right? I've worked in all these areas. I've worked in venture capital. I know science. There's no disruptive innovation going on. Okay? No special period. It's the same as been going on the past several years. There's no accelerated period. There's no special period. That's a lie. It's the same crap that people were pitching in the dot-com bubble. Okay? About, it's a paradigm shift. Earnings don't matter. It's different this time. The same crap. Okay? And if people listen, there's people that know, that they remember, they didn't work in the financial industry. It doesn't take a genius to see. Okay, it's pretty obvious. You know, back in the .com, the peak of the .com, you had taxi drivers and elevator attendants and shoe shine guys giving stock advice, giving stock tips, soccer moms. Everybody was a stock viewer, right? Now it's even worse. You've got kids doing it. You know, that's just one of the songs. It's one of the there's many comparables I can tell you. You've got companies like Palantir. That's similar to I would say Exodus Communications, which is another pie in the sky overhyped stock. Which Exodus ended up going bankrupt, by the way. That was a Wall Street darling. You know, you had all kinds of crap going on. That's what I'm saying, folks. I mean, this is stuff that if you've been around long enough, you don't have to have been worked in the industry to know. Okay, this is important for perspective. You see, but you see that doesn't sell on YouTube. That doesn't get you the views, right? That doesn't get you the Patreon money, right? It doesn't pay. People want to hear you reacting to the daily drama in the market, and they want to hear you giving them bogus stock analysis because they don't know it's bogus. They want to hear you pitching this stuff. This is human nature, and unfortunately, many things about human nature need to come under conscious control and change. Not everyone's not this way. Some people are more grounded, right? But a lot of people are this way. And the sooner that you realize this is human nature, and the sooner that you realize that it's destructive, the sooner you can change it. You see, I mean, there's some people that this type of stuff doesn't affect, but I think that's in the minority. You see, Jesus Christ, I hope I don't sound like Tony Robbins. No, I don't think Tony Robbins, will give you this. He would tell you to stand up and shout, let it all out, stand up and shout. I feel good. So folks, some of you get it. Some of you got it before. Some of you don't get it. You're just here to play along because you're bored in life. You got nothing else better to do. Which I'd say if that's your case, if that's your situation, then dude, you got my sympathy. Honestly, if you're here on a Friday night and you're just here to try and troll, I don't know what you're trying to troll. I mean, what am I doing? I mean, how can you troll what I'm saying? That's like weird. That's like really bizarre. If that's your, maybe like, you're in something like me, Kevin Colt or something. I don't know. But if that's what your situation, I would suggest that you try and be a little more productive with your time. To be honest. What? Valuetainment. Dude, that guy's a scam artist. I saw Patrick David's a scammer. I saw that from day one. He's a complete scam artist, without a doubt. I knew that from the very first time I saw this guy, I knew he was a scammer. So how did I know this? First of all, the guy went out of his way to try and sound like he knew what he was talking about. He wants to convince you that he's a business genius. And then I could tell by the way he spoke, he was uneducated. He sounded like some ghetto rapper guy. He was a complete thug. He talks like a thug. Okay? Then I could tell that he's trying to sell something. I knew this, right? And he's trying to convince you that he's so intelligent. The guy's a clown. And then, of course, later on, people realize, that he's pitching his multi-level marketing scam. I mean, folks, the more that you look at these people and you kind of you think about these things, believe me, it won't. Eventually, you'll spot him instantly, like I do. Boom, just like that. Brian Rose, I spotted instantly as a scammer as well. I had meant to expose him many years ago, and I just kind of forgot. I knew he was a scammer because his story didn't make sense, his bio, and he was inconsistent with it. And then he started pumping Peter Schiff as an expert back in 2011. I think you can read those videos. And then I knew he was a fraud. It was confirmed at that point. And this is well before he was selling any courses or anything. Okay, I knew the guy was completely full of shit, and he was trying to lure a certain demographic. That's why he interviews Peter Schiff. That's why he interviews Robert Kiyosaki. He interviews scammers. Why? He wants his audience to be stupid. He wants those people. You understand? That's how professional scammers also work. They will go after a certain demographic because they're easier to scam. I mean, think about it. If you're interviewing Peter Schiff, you're going to get his cult following. I mean, do you think that they're hard to fool? And these people still believe that they stayed out of the stock market since I don't know, they missed everything. These are people that still think that the dollar's going to zero and they're going to see hyperinflation. So same thing with Robert Kiyosaki. You want people, if you're a scammer, you want two things. You want to interview and promote scammers with a big audience because you can benefit from that audience. They're going to come to watch your videos. You can pitch them your garbage. And it works both ways, you see. This is why I said before, scammers tend to hang in networks. They associate with each other because they're more stronger scam because you can share your audience. You can fleece them. You have a bigger audience full of idiots, right? And you also, by doing that, you kind of keep them in your network. So if they're not listening to Brian Rose, they're listening to Robert Kiyosaki. If they're not listening to Robert Kiyosaki, they're listening to some other scammers, right? Because that's in the network. So they stay in that whole world of disinformation. You see? I mean, folks, I'm telling you, I've observed this stuff for a long. I know how this all works. And the sooner you figure it out, the better off you're going to be. There's very few sources of legitimate information out there and inside. I mean, a lot of people they listen to Joe Rogan. This guy's a gatekeeper. He's clowning a gatekeeper, right? Some guy told me the other day, oh well, I listen to him for entertainment. I said, but the problem is that Joe Rogan doesn't do a comedy routine. He gets into things that matter, and without you realizing it, he's manipulating you because you're listening. Joe Rogan talks about things he's not qualified to talk about. You see, this is the problem. People don't separate. If they like someone, they'll listen to that person talk about anything. That's the danger that we face. I've noticed this has been going on. The internet has created this phenomenon. It's a very dangerous thing. People don't ask, hey, wait a second, you're not qualified to talk about this. Just stick to Britney Spears and talk about the NBA. They don't do that. You see? But Joe Rogan is definitely a gatekeeper, no doubt about it. I saw that early on. In fact, he's kind of taken the place to some degree of Alex Jones. And you'll note, of course, they have kind of worked together a little bit in the past. And of course, he's living now in Austin with Alex Jones. But you see, Rogan's position is kind of like, oh, he's a maverick. Yeah, he's an outlier. Yeah, he's not part of the establishment. That's baloney. That's what they want you to think. You see, that's how they fool you. That's how a gatekeeper operates. You see? Alex Jones did the same thing. although it's more extreme, more obvious, right? But then you see Alex Jones, he's getting interviewed by the mainstream media, right? I mean, come on, people. There's a golden rule. One of my golden rules, folks, one of my golden rules I've learned, if they have exposure, they can't be trusted, they're bought off. If they have exposure, it's not because they're on your side, okay? People with exposure are the people that you should run away from. Because think about the apparatus that controls the exposure, okay? Think about that. You understand what I'm saying? A good example. Graham Stephan, Meet Kevin, were promoted by Kevin O'Leary. He put them on the CNBC Naked, where they could lure more people. Right? Now, Kevin gets interviewed on the media now. Why is that? You understand what I'm saying, folks? Because that's how they're going to game you. They position you with idiots, whether it's somebody like Peter Schiff, Broken Clock, or Meet Kevin, who, for some reason, he's got a lot of people that watch his garbage. That's good for the media, because that content enables them to sell higher dollar advertisements. You listen to Meet Kevin, then think about it. I mean, if I'm running a financial website, I want to advertise on Meet Kevin's channel, because people are going to need help. Those ads are going to go for a higher price, because they're more valuable. You see, that's how the media works. You understand? The media is not going to make a whole lot of money if they interview true experts who are also ready, willing, and able to provide you with good insight, solid insight. You see, they're not going to do that. And if they were, in fact, let me just give you an example. If I had an open platform to the media, you know what I would be doing? I'd probably, I had some commentary about stocks, but I would always mention risk, but you never hear that word. The four-letter word on the media, risk. You don't hear that. I would just basically say, look, folks, most of you just buy an index fund. Can you forecast the market? Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. Here's what's going on. But the bottom line is, just stay in an index. That's not, if you got the media, CNBC's are talking about buying an index, how are they going to make money? Vanguard is only going to shell out so much money for their ads. They don't need to advertise that much, right? You understand? You follow what I'm saying? Right? That's why I say ad-based content is a scam. It's designed as a scam. In fact, going back to our friends, Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki, the reason why you can say, well, gosh, I don't know, you're saying they're scammers, but everyone likes them, and they got a lot of views, and they write good books, and everyone likes their books, and everyone says great things about them. Folks, if that's your logic, you might want to get a legal guardian to make decisions for you. Okay? If you're going to be a sucker the rest of your life. If you want to look, you're waiting for Robert Kiyosaki to be exposed, Tony Robbins to be exposed. They're not going to be exposed because they pay the media a lot of money. In fact, if you can go on YouTube and find Robert Kiyosaki was exposed one time, 3-part series by the media station. And guess what? It's from Canada. So Robert Kiyosaki's not paying, he's not sending them money. In fact, I know this for a fact, but it's even confirmed because I actually met a guy who worked at CBS, and he told me about how everyone over there hates Robert Kiyosaki, how they've got a shill for his BS workshops and crap, and they all hate him, but he pays a lot of money. You see, they're not. And you know what? I learned this lesson, by the way. I first opened my eyes and woke up to this. You know when? When I was being banned a long time ago, for no reason basically, other than predicting a collapse in the market, bankruptcy with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Dow 6500. Predicting the stuff in my research in my books. Nothing controversial. They don't want you to know this. I was banned. Starting to get sidelined on the webs. I opened my research firm. I said, you know what? I left venture capital, and I started doing this, and I was going to give it away for free. Okay? I was going to give it away for free. But guess what? So I had Google AdSense. This was back, 2008, 2009 probably. I was going to do everything for free, just ad-based, But guess what? I exposed a scammer called Martin Weiss. His name is Martin Weiss. A known scammer. I've known about the guy for decades. He's a complete scam artist. It's funny, now he's in the cryptocurrencies because that's the hot thing. He was in the stocks all these, now he's in the... But so I exposed the guy, did some write-up on the guy. The SEC even sued the guy. And I didn't, just talk about him being sued by the SEC, how he announced himself as a doctor, even though it was anthropology, not, Anyway, the point is that Martin Weiss saw that. He complained to Google. Before I got a single check, Google said, basically terminating my contract. Why? It's because I threatened to harm the business of one of their customers. It was Martin Weiss. That's when I realized how the media works. Because Martin Weiss's ads were everywhere. He paid Google a lot of money, millions, okay? And you can look at the guy. He's down in West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach is the capital of the penny stock scams and stock scams. And, there's two capitals. Baltimore, Maryland, that's where Gore Financial is. And then you got a lot of the stock promoters and penny stock scams and other guys down in West Palm Beach. That's when I realized, folks, the media is for sale. You can't speak the truth. You're going to be taken down, especially if you've got someone that you're talking about that's paying the media. That's when I woke up to the media the very first time. You see? That's when I realized it. And since that time, I'm probably the world's foremost authority on the media, certainly the financial media, and I see how it all works. Most people aren't going to see that. Certainly not as clearly as me, because I was involved. I was directly impacted. It's much different when you're directly involved. You see, it's different when somebody tells you something. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. Because all I basically said was I just talked about, I posted his track record, which is like, I couldn't believe how, it's probably worse than Meet Kevin's actually. It's that bad. And in fact, as part of the SEC settlement, he was forced to post his track record, his little trading service track record on his website. Okay? So, I didn't back down. I kept posting his article. He actually filed a DMCA against me because I posted his track record, which is completely bogus. You can't, So, anyway. Seeking Alpha is a scam. And you'll notice, I told them I'm leaving that site. You know why? I'll tell you the story right now, because I'm still pissed off. I call it Sneaky Alpha. They're a scam site. In fact, they got in trouble from the SEC because they got a lot of stock manipulators there. Seeking Alpha, I didn't realize it at first what was going on, but then I realized, once I kind of, because first of all, Seeking Alpha is a company, it's based out of Israel, okay? What I started noticing, of course, you gotta understand, during that period, I'm the guy that predicted everything. And early on, I was maybe one of the very top authors there, and I started noticing these chumps who never worked in the industry, were nobodies, were getting promoted. Like the site would use their little sneaky ways to de-emphasize my stuff and emphasize their stuff. Okay? And, you know, that's, you know, I realized, I saw what was going on. I wasn't part of the clan. That was a fact. I experienced this. I wasn't part of the right group. Okay? Let's put it that way. Other things happened as well. For instance, I mean, they were clearly afraid of the truth. That was part of it. I talked about some certain things that they wouldn't publish, and then another guy talks about the same thing later on, and they publish it. So, you know, I mean, believe me, I've lived through the media situation. I see what's going on. I've lived through this stuff. Okay? I was offering my insights for free to everyone in the world. That's a fact. Think about that. If I hadn't been banned, people would be getting my insights for free. But I have 6 hosting companies I'm paying. You know, I've got a lot of expenses I'm paying. You know, and I'm semi-retired, as I said. I mean, I'm not full force now. Anyway, you know, I don't need to be. I mean, I just work basically on the weekends. So, you know, that's the reality. That's the truth. The story that you're not going to hear, that you guys aren't going to understand. I've been through this whole system. Okay? I see what's going on. And that's why I don't even waste my time, because it's all disgusting, it's all corrupt, it's all a bunch of garbage. Don't need it, don't want it. I'm not going to waste my life on it. Okay? People that get it will get it. Those that don't, well, you know what they say, ignorance is bliss, right? Got a lot of stories, okay? You see, I mean, the perspective that I have alone, having gone through what I've gone through and been around as long as I've been, right? You see? But you know, there's always going to be plenty of people out there who want to find a reason to, to discount what you say. I mean, you know, I don't have time for kid games, you see. Seeking Alpha was actually a pretty good site about, 15 years ago. And there were a lot of pretty good people on there, and eventually they all left. They all left many years ago for many reasons. And by the way, I was posting articles for free. They weren't paying anybody anything at that time. And I wasn't like promoting I wasn't even fucking promoting my book or anything. I realized, folks, honestly, people, anyway, I'm not going to even get into that discussion. I'm pretty disgusted with a lot of things out there. That's why I don't even waste time, because I already know the deal. I've been around and seen too much. I can spot this stuff instantly. But Seeking Alpha has turned into a penny stock manipulating, promoting garbage factory. It's been that way for a long time now. They don't have anybody on there. They just got a bunch of jackasses there. It's just a bunch of garbage. It's what it is. But honestly, still, I'm shocked at what's going on YouTube. It's a completely different level of ridiculousness, really. But of course, on YouTube, people are too lazy. They don't want to write an article. Oh shit, why should I do that? I'll just stream. I'll just stream and just blabber, talk about stocks. Well, price sales ratio and the EBITDA, and well, it's looking good. I'll look at the chart. Okay, wait for my super chats. I'll Patreon, right? I mean, it's yeah. Yeah, well, Newt Gingrich, yeah, he probably can't mention George Soros' name, but you know what? He's still in the media. What's that tell you, right? He's still there, okay? And even if he goes away, he was there for a long time. What's that tell you, right? What's that say? My three golden rules: ad-based content is a scam. Number one, ad-based content is a scam. Number two, anybody who's in the media has been bought off. They're there for a reason, and it's not for your best interests, which is associated with number one, right? Number three, con artists typically like to work in syndicates and networks. Those are my three golden rules. Okay? 3 golden rules that I've learned on my own, observing things. That's right. Let me tell you something. I don't know about George Soros' story about breaking the bank. That's a media urban myth. You don't know about the details of that, right? George Soros is known to be involved in insider trading. And I can tell you this, if George Soros is so great, why is he 158 years old and still in the fund business? What's going on there? Is there a point in time when he's going to retire? Right? I mean, it's a little bit strange if you ask me. So remember, the media always is going to have some guy, a Superman. In fact, by the way, the media also will, I mentioned this before, sometimes they'll have stories of some kid, a 14-year-old kid. He's a trading genius. He's made $100,000 in the market, this month or whatever. And it turns out to be a scam. They do this to suck in the dumb money, right? To give everybody the hope, wow, if he made the money, I can do it, right? You understand? Folks, understand how the market works. You've got the professionals out there, okay? The professional investors managing funds, all sorts of capacities. And they're trading against you. They're trading against the retail crowd. The more retail money that goes into the market, the more the pros can make. Because they're not trading against the pros. You understand? 50 years ago, the pros were trading against the pros. Now, and increasingly so, the pros are getting to trade, they're getting to trade against the retail sheep. And that's where the financial media comes in and misleads the retail to make them think, yeah, I understand this now. Yeah, I feel confident. I'm going to short stocks. You all understand. I'm telling you. And this is why, man, there's virtually the trading floors are virtually gone. I mean, they'll be gone completely probably within the next 10 years. I mean, it's all electronic. It's more and more increasingly electronic, you see. And it's especially, by the way, you got to understand that this selling of order flow or buying of order flow, depending upon, the party you're talking about, that's increasing. That's an increasing force that's removing trading floors. Okay. You see, many things have caused the eventual extinction of trading floors. Many things. There's less proprietary trading now because of a lot of rules, a lot of things going on. I mean, think about it. You've got, Goldman Sachs now is getting involved in consumer finance. They're involved in consumer finance, right? Think about that. You see? You know what documentary you guys should be watching right now? By the way, did anybody search for that article? The Story of Dendron? Anybody search for that article? Anybody? You should do it. You all should be watching a documentary on the dot-com bubble. It's fascinating. You should watch it. I'm sure they've got one or two. But let me just say something, by the way, about floor traders. Understand, when somebody says they were a floor trader, like, the Nigerian knuckleheads, right? The meathead guys, the guys that played football, who are running bogus garbage services with they have a long history of bullshit. In fact, the Nigerian, what's his name? Pete Nigerian, I think it's Pete, the older guy, he actually he got paid to promote, what's his name? Is it John Carreyrou? A guy that was a cryptocurrency scammer, the crypto king, who ended up, he's like going to jail now. Do you all know about that? Anybody know about that? I did a video on it, actually. But, I can't post a thing on YouTube. But anyway, they're like, oh, yeah, we used to be floor traders. Folks, do you understand what floor trading is, by the way? Do you know what floor trading is? It's a bunch of guys barking, okay? They're not trading. They're filling their books. They're filling orders for their company, okay? You understand that? They don't know anything about trading. They know nothing about trading stocks. They're basically barking like dogs. They're trying to fill their order books. They know zero about trading. Do you all understand that? I don't think many people understand that fact. It's a fact, okay? Floor traders are there to buy and sell positions for their firm. Some of them also make markets. And the market makers don't know shit about trading either. All they're doing is scalping the spread. Okay? That's all they're doing. They're making money off the spread. They're going to, someone's going to buy this, so they're going to sell this position out of inventory. The people on the floor know zero about trading. Please understand that, and please tell everyone that you know that fact. Because there's this wrong, there's this misconception out there. People think, oh, well, he's trading on the floor. He knows everything. They don't know anything. Believe me. They're not doing trading as you all think. They're not looking at charts. They're not looking at stocks. They're just filling orders that they're told. And they're trying to do it in a way that's beneficial. You think that have you ever seen any traders in the pit? What are they doing? You see them looking at stock charts? They're not. It makes sense now, right? If you think about it, what I'm telling you now, but almost I've never heard anybody reveal this reality, by the way. They don't know anything about trading. But understand, like, this is what the Nigerian knuckleheads, the CNBC clowns, like, that's how they position. Yeah, we used to be on the floor. Okay, you don't know how to trade stocks, which is why your picks suck. They don't even run those companies that they pitch. They've got other guys running them. It's kind of like a Robert Kiyosaki business plan. They sell their celebrity media status. That's the game, folks. If you line up for the media and tell the media everything they want to hear, you're going to benefit if you have no morals. Because you're going to steer the audience into the gutter, but the media is going to give you exposure, and the media is going to tell everyone that you're an expert and you're great. And with that, you can write books that are going to sell millions of copies. You can get money coming into your investment firm. You can pitch companies, right? You can pitch a mutual fund company that, like Kevin O'Leary, which failed. And then you can pitch an ETF, right? You understand what I'm saying? You're not going to get the truth or valuable insight from the media. It's not going to happen. And in the financial media, you're going to get the complete opposite, even though you think that it's valuable. I'm telling you, folks, there's nobody that knows more about the financial media in the world, guaranteed, than me. Guaranteed. And I can prove that. I have thousands of hours of content, of analysis that I have created showing what's going on. You see? So this is what people need to understand. And then ask yourself where these guys on YouTube are going for their insight. They're watching CNBC. They're watching Fox. They're reading articles from Motley Fool and Yahoo and Seeking Alpha. Right? You understand? There's nothing of value that's free. Okay? Why are you going to be able to get valuable insight, free insight on investments? Why is that possible? When's the last time you went to your doctor and said, "Oh, doc, yeah, by the way, that knee operation that I need, can I get it for free? Going to give it to me for free?" Or maybe, your pipes are stopped up and you call a plumber. Can you do it for free? Right? Remember, if you're not paying money to the provider, that means that you're getting screwed. That means that you're actually the product. Okay? Somebody's making money off you. I mean, it's just common sense. No offense, Mr. Ferris, by the way, but you did remind me of another charlatan who has your last name. You probably know him, Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss, the digital nomad con man, who actually made his fortune by, I have substantial reason to believe, he bought fake reviews. That's right. That's right. He bought fake reviews for his useless books, his scammy books. Tim Ferriss, who's now trying to recreate himself. He's trying to seem legitimate. This guy is a piece of trash. He's a disaster. In fact, in my opinion, just my opinion, if you think about the biggest scam artist in the world, I believe Tony Robbins is number one. He's been doing it the longest. I believe Robert Kiyosaki is number two. I think Tim Ferriss might be number three, even though he's new to the game, much younger. Which one did you buy? The 5-Hour Work Week? I mean, I haven't read the book. I've read it. People. In fact, folks, here's another piece of advice. If you come across a book that's sold a lot of copies, right? It's sold a lot. It's got a big reach. Usually, if you read the 1-star reviews, you'll see the truth. Why? Because many of these reviews are bought or they are manipulated. In other words, many of these people that write a book these days, they have a cult following. So people are just going to give it great reviews regardless. I challenge you. In fact, go to Michael. Michael Lewis is a complete idiot, pinhead, who who doesn't understand jack. He gets everything wrong. Go and read the 1-star reviews on his books, and you'll find pros that will chew him up and state the truth. Okay? It's a good example. Tim Ferriss, I actually did a video. I haven't released it, but I wanted a video and do it. If you read the 1-star reviews on Tim Ferriss's 5-hour work week, you get, like, everyone's saying, like, he bought these 5-star reviews. It's such a scam. The 1-star, they're so hilarious if you read them. It's you know. Apparently, this guy loves talking about himself, how he's just a genius and great at everything, and you know he has no morals and he cheats the system, and you can cheat the system, and just a complete scumbag. And the problem is that you got a lot of suckers who believe this crap, and you got these digital nomad clowns thinking they're gonna, you know, this whole dream. I'm a digital nomad, which CNBC promotes that crap as well. I mean, and then after he, you know, I'm sure he went on to these forums, these online forums, and spread, you know, he paid people to spread his book, and it got into this whole remote working community. And after that, of course, he came out with his 5-hour body or something. I mean, he posts pictures that are completely photoshopped, complete scam. Yes, I gained 30 pounds of muscle in a month. Sorry, that's not possible. You're a liar. You're a fraud. Tim Ferriss, you're a fucking fraud. People like Tim Ferriss make me just, they are the worst people. He's up there with Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki. Honestly, something bad needs to happen to these people. They are Satan as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, yeah, Tim Ferriss, what a scumbag. And by the way, take a look. Once again, folks, another rule, by the way, is I always go by. If you want to identify, like a bunch of scammers and con artists, look and see who they hang out with, right? Because I told you the rule, they hang out in networks, right? So if you're unsure, if you want to identify more, look who they're dealing with, look who they're interviewing, look who they're going to this event with, and I'll give him a hat tip to such and such, right? Take a look at who Tim Ferriss interviews. In fact, before, I found this out, even though I knew he was a scammer, he actually promoted Tony Robbins. That's right. I'm sure I'm willing to bet Robert Kiyosaki, he's interviewed him as well. They all hang together, folks. Complete scumbag. I mean, these people, what pisses me off about these people is they're destroying the future of young generations of people. That's the problem. Not just taking their money. These are people who, especially, I can't speak for Tim Ferriss, but it's essentially the same thing when you got him pitching his, you only have to work 4 hours a week? What? I mean, that's a fraud. And then Robert Kiyosaki telling people, college is a scam. That's what he says. He says, college is a scam. The teachers they're fake teachers. And of course, Robert Kiyosaki, you all have heard this now. All these scammers are out there telling you, college is a scam. It's a waste of money. Don't go. And these are the same people who they're either pitching garbage, they want to suck you in with their garbage, or they want you to buy their education programs. They want to keep people stupid. Folks, let me just tell you this right now. In fact, I told this to one of my customers, a young customer, and he thanked me. He told me, look, I have you to thank because I heard you talking about this one time. I was thinking about, getting a job and doing such and such, and what you told me, I'm in college. I'm going to school. And that is, first of all, college is extremely important. Okay? If you can go to college, at any way you can get to college, go. Okay? And it's extremely important for many reasons. It's not just whether you can get a job and what your major is. It's not just about that. Many other things. First of all, you learn to be held responsible, accountable for your actions. You're leaving home for the first time. You're going to a school. You're partying all the time. You got all this freedom, and you're going to learn the hard way. Either you're going to stay in school or you're going to flunk out. So you're going to go to all these parties and get drunk. You grow as an adult. Okay? You grow as an adult. Some people might not need that, but I think it's fair to say most people do. It's helpful. More important than that is you're doing something for 4 years or 5 years. You're dedicating yourself to studying a specific topic. You're going to class, you're taking exams, you're preparing, you're doing this. Why do you think employers want recent college graduates? They're showing they've got some discipline, right? You understand? And they've gone through this system, this process. And most importantly, probably, is when you're going through a college program, you're learning from, and I'm assuming we're talking about not one of these for-profit college scams. Sorry, but I wrote about this being, I kind of tried to, put it mildly, but I warned about the for-profit colleges, when I wrote about it 12 years ago, actually 16 years ago. But if you're going to a decent college, you have professors, right, who have expertise in their field. These are people from academia, right? So even if it's something that's not extremely difficult, like let's say sociology or psychology, you're still, you're going through, you're thinking about things, you're maturing, your intellect is improving. Okay? Or if it's something more on the creative side, let's say you're studying English literature, your creativity is also in a high level. You're going through these courses, and you have professors there to guide you through. This helps your mind. Okay, you're becoming intelligent, and you may not realize it. You're becoming more intelligent, right? So, obviously, if you go to school, university, and you study something, you want to get a job in that area. But some people actually know that they're going to work in another area that have actually a good field is philosophy. I mean, what do you think an undergrad in philosophy is going to do? Who's going to hire them? Not somebody for philosophy, but they are employable, right? Because philosophy is a good major that teaches logic, right? It's a good major, right? But it's not directly applicable to the workforce. So someone like that may have to work. They might get a job in technology or something like that, something where it's going to require creativity, intellect, something like that. But you never hear that argument. All you hear is, "Oh, can't get a job. College is a waste of time. It's too much." College is very important. Okay. That's all I got to say about that. And you're not hearing that. And the reason why is because more and more, the people with the exposure and the clout, they want to keep you dumbed down. They don't want people to become intelligent. Okay? They want them to be dependent on them for insight. You see? That's what I've seen. It's been going on now for the better part of, 15 years. By the way. I'm not saying that everyone, everyone has to go to college, but I'm just saying that don't think that, don't listen to the bullshit. Most of these people, by the way, who are telling you college is a waste, they went to college. They went to college. It's easy to say it's a waste after you've done it yourself, right? You know, I'm not saying it's. I just think that generally speaking, there's other things from a university education that you're going to get that you're not going to necessarily notice. In fact, I told this to a guy about 3 weeks ago. I think he was a business major, and I forgot what he does. It's not directly what he's got a degree in, but I told him this. And he said, yeah, I know. He said, I noticed my friends who didn't go to college, like they're just a little bit off. You know, they're just kind of not as sharp as. So he noticed that, he said. And I'm not saying everyone who doesn't go is going to be that way. You know, you're going to have some intelligent people that don't go to college. I'm just saying in general, there are intangible benefits of going to college. But anybody who's going to go to a for-profit college, I mean, you got to expect to get scammed as far as I'm concerned. Because those things are set up, they're full of shit. I saw that, 20 years ago when they were popping up. Misleading marketing, false claims, they're there to make a profit. Boom. They want to, yeah, student loans. Look, student loans are screwed up, but let me just tell you something right now. And everyone's heard misinformation on student loan situation. They're all, you got the guys out there that want to blame the government. The government, they're providing too many loans, right? Let me explain to you the reality. The government's actually chasing the costs. So think about it. Is the government going to throw a bunch of money out there? No. They're going to increase the amount of loans that they're offering to fill the need based upon the cost of the universities. You understand? I mean, you got idiots out there that talk about this, and these are typically these libertarian charlatans that want to blame the government for everything, right? They want to blame the government for everything, right? But when a private corporation screws up, you don't hear a word from them, right? Like when Boeing, they killed 500 people in 2 plane crashes, that whole 787 MAX or whatever, right? You see what I'm saying? So you got guys like Peter Schiff who want to tell you the government's fault. The government's a problem in everything, okay? And the reason why college loans are people have too much college debt, and it's just not true. The government has continued to increase the loan sizes because the tuitions have gone up. It's not the tail wagging the dog. You understand that? So why have the costs gone up? You understand? Does anyone actually think that universities are raising the costs every year because it's like, well, because we can do it and the government will increase the loans? No, it doesn't work that way. It only works that way maybe in the for-profit scam industry. But that's not, for-profit schools I think should be largely illegal, honestly, because I think these are scams. Largely. I'm not going to say all of them, but most of them. The reason why, and you're not hearing about this, and I noticed this a long time ago, is actually, guess what? It's because of capitalism. It's because of capitalism. The libertarian charlatans don't want to hear that argument, you see. So how is capitalism, how did that create the student loan problem? You see, what's happened with these universities over the past 20 years or so is that they've gotten cozy with Wall Street. You see? Anybody get out of school, just graduate, or is still in school, graduate recently? You tell me. Okay? What the colleges have done, what they're doing now is, because when I went to school, the living conditions were shit. You're in a dorm room, it's all screwed up. Now you go to college, and like these student facilities are like, yeah, we've got hardwood floors and granite countertops. I'm thinking like, what? What the fuck is this? Are you kidding me? I mean, these kids are there to study. They don't need this garbage. Has anybody noticed that? These student housing facilities are like getting nicer and nicer. And if you're too young to know that, just ask your parents. Ask them how their dorm conditions were, okay? You're also getting nice student centers. In fact, there must have been some type of a law or something going on, because a long time ago, you would not see private corporations on campuses. Now, what do you see? You see Target. You see Pizza Hut. You all understand this. Some of you who are younger, you may be thinking that's the way it was. Universities never allowed private companies in. Right? Now they're filled. So what am I getting at? How is that raising costs? Well, let's get back to the student housing. Has anybody seen these student housing now? They're really nice. I mean, do you all understand how college, how it typically was? You shared a bunk bed in some little tiny room with shitty ass carpet. I mean, that's the student life. But now, there's all these nice housing projects on campus. Has anybody seen this or no? Anybody? Okay. Here's the deal. Who do you think is building those housing projects? You think the university is? Sorry, you're wrong. Private equity. If you look closely or investigate, you'll see actually, while they're campus housing, it's actually a kind of a partnership with the university. You have real estate investment trusts and other private equity firms are actually building those new facilities, so that you have investors involved. Investors need to get the payout. And what's been going on as well is Wall Street's been going to, and when I say Wall Street, I'm talking about, private equity, everything. They've been going to university presidents, chancellors, saying, hey, you want to compete with such and such, you want to compete with this school across the city. Well, why don't you think about getting a new student center? Or why don't you think about getting a new football stadium or a new basketball stadium arena, right? And they say, hey, yeah, that's a good idea, but we don't have the money. We can't pay for it. That's okay. We'll finance it. Okay? We'll finance it. We'll be responsible for it. And we'll just get here's the terms of the agreement. This is why the university campuses have been transformed over the years and continue to be transformed. Okay? And this causes tuitions to go up, because it's not just a situation where Wall Street goes in. Okay? There's partnering with the universities. They're becoming more profit-minded. That's what's going on. And that's obviously something, you have to observe over a long time frame. You see? So if you have any idea how college campuses were, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and how they are today, it's drastically different. You're getting a middleman involved. You're getting an investor involved. Before, you didn't get an investor involved. Before, student housing on campus was provided by the university. And they didn't upgrade them. They kept these dorms there for 50, 60 years. But now everything's got to be nice. Why? Because you got investors involved. And the investors, they want to make sure that you stay on their facilities, that you don't go off campus. This is what's going on. Okay? That's my belief from what I've seen. Yeah, well, so your old high school. High school, it's hard to say with high school, because you're dealing there with, obvious 100%, unless it's a private school, you're dealing with funding from the city. So that could be, something with the city. But universities, I'm telling you, I have actually seen on campus, I've seen these things. I've seen it. And I've actually seen the investment signs attached there. They want you to know that this is this group and so forth. That's the problem. That's what's going on. You see? But think about why you're not going to hear that. Well, if you heard the reality that Wall Street is getting involved in an area which they should never be involved in, and that's higher education, then that's not going to be good. Think about who's going to report that. Do you think the financial media is going to report that? Of course not. Because where does the financial media obtain almost all of its revenues? Right? From Wall Street, from financial firms, which includes insurance companies, right? So they're playing, you know, they're working together. Same thing as, for instance, why people didn't know about the trade issue with China. I wrote about this in detail. I warned about theft of intellectual property. I warned even about, I mean, I saw it in school. I saw all, you know, where Chinese graduate students would come in and they're getting all this know-how in grad school and they go back to China. I saw all this. I wrote about all this stuff, okay? Nobody had a clue about any of this stuff, what was going on. Even though it should be obvious when you're buying stuff and it says made in China, what do you think that means? Every time you buy something made in China, you should think about that means jobs we're losing from this country. You didn't hear anything about that, although it was going on for 20 years until Trump started talking about it. And even now, actually I have a video that I put in I have a promo video for my China webinar. I put a video clip there that it's a Chinese professor of a major university in China who talks about how they have friends in Wall Street and how Wall Street's connected to the political and traditional elite and establishment, and how they used to have Wall Street, they used to be really good with Wall Street, get what they wanted. This is China. But what happened was Trump was elected, and Trump had problems with Wall Street because of his previous defaults and so forth. And so he said, well, you know, so it's not good. And when the trade talks were going on, he says, our Wall Street friends told us they tried to help us, and it just didn't work. It couldn't work. Okay? And by the way, does anybody remember who Trump brought in? I think as maybe the trade secretary, or I forgot what his title was. He brought in, what's his name? Cohen, the CFO of Goldman Sachs. Remember that? Does anybody remember that? When Cohen came in? Maybe he's a trade official or something. Cohen didn't last long. He resigned after like a month. Anybody remember that? Yes? No? Right? The reason why was because Cohen, once he found out that Trump was gonna go after China, because China's been cheating for decades. All these Asian countries have been cheating America. It's fact. I mean, I know the deal. I'm telling you. See, Cohen he couldn't be part of that because he's part of the Wall Street elite that's friends with China. He had to get out of that. That's why he resigned. You see? Well, look it up right now. Look it up right now. I don't know his first name. I don't want to confuse him with Steve Cohen, the insider trading scam artist, but Cohen, C-O-H-N. He was a CFO. He resigned from his position to go in the Trump administration. You don't remember that? Cohen, C-O-H-N. Look it up, okay? He didn't last long. And I was thinking like, wow. I was thinking, well, maybe Trump is serious about bringing the jobs back. But of course, Trump wasn't. But it didn't matter because even the trade issue was enough for Cohen to have to disassociate himself with Trump. Okay? Anyway, the point is this video. I wish I could find it. Let me see. This video, the guy goes on to say, he's speaking in Mandarin. He goes on to say, well, Biden is elected now, He says, we have a new president now. And he says, Trump talks about Biden having a foundation. And he says, who do you think helped him build that foundation? Got it? That's where it ends. That's what he says. Okay? My point is that people don't understand what's going on with Wall Street and Washington have sold this country out. That's what I wrote about a long time ago. They sold this country out. And in part, I'm not going to say, this is why you have so many scammers and people on YouTube. There's just not as many opportunities anymore. Okay? But the people doing the stuff on YouTube, come on, they can get it. They can get a productive job. Okay? They just, but you have, in fact, and I'll go ahead and tell you guys a little bit what's going on, because nobody else knows this. You're not going to hear this anywhere else. Okay? I'll just give you a little inkling. But Wall Street has been in bed with China for a very long time. Okay? You have to understand, corporate America wrote the laws, they wrote the rules of trade. They wrote NAFTA. They got everything they wanted. It's not what Trump is an idiot. He's a liar. He claims that our leaders are dumb. They agreed to bad deals. That's not true. Corporate America wrote those trade deals, and they got Washington to approve it. It's exactly what they wanted. They wanted cheap labor. You understand? High corporate profits. They don't care that we lost millions and millions of jobs. It's all about the money. Okay? Wall Street has been doing this with them all this time. And you'll think about now, during this situation, when we have this supply chain disruption, which is going to continue for a long time. Okay, I can tell you that right now. You think about that, you think about the geopolitical situation, the increasing risk of China. They're more aggressive in the East Asian area, right? I don't know if you guys follow this. And finally, Washington has really said, look, China's a national security threat. Why hasn't anybody in the media come out and said, wait a second, why don't we pull our companies out of there? The supply chain is vulnerable. Our situation in China, we need to pull our companies out of there. No one said that. Why? Because corporate America, the scumbags, you understand, they don't care. They want to keep selling you cheap crap from China. They don't care. If it breaks down, doesn't last that long, that's okay. You got to buy another one. They don't care that your jobs have been transferred over there, that your living standards have been transferred. They don't care. This is the perfect time, the perfect argument to get the hell out of China. And no one's talking about it. Can you believe that? Think about that. Why? Folks, corporate America and Wall Street, they run the country. Okay? They control. The politicians are just all puppets. And when I say corporate America, I'm talking the banks as well, right? Give you an example. Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley. They are all in bed with China, and they have been for a long time. In fact, because they're good boys, they behave well, guess what? China has granted those firms, no firms ever in the world, the first time China has granted them full ownership of their own investment operations in China. See, normally, maybe some of you don't know how it works, but in Asia, you can't own, generally speaking, typically, not always, but you generally cannot own majority or have full ownership of a business. Okay? There's some exceptions depending. But generally speaking, you can't. You have to have, it's a partly owned subsidiary or so on and so forth. A good example, for instance, by the way, is, some of these, say, getting back to the Chinese securities, some of the auditors in China, they're American names, right? PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG, but they're not really American. They're the Chinese subsidiary. Okay? Just like, for instance, if you have banks in some of these countries in Asia, like Citigroup. Well, depending upon the country, if the country has kind of a closed banking system, it's not really Citigroup. It operates under the same laws. So it's kind of, they use their name, but it's really not any different. My point is that China has never allowed a foreign company to come in there and own completely their own operations. They have, over the past year and a half or so, they've granted BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley their own operations. I think maybe BlackRock their own fund company, Goldman, I forgot what it is. Okay, why do you think they would do that? What have these Wall Street firms done for China? Why would they do that? Anybody know? The reason why is because Wall Street is busy selling toxic debt to institutional investors. You see, China's debt market, which is, by the way, the second biggest in the world, is internal. China's debt market's about $13 trillion, okay? It's the second largest debt market in the world, yet it's not international. Almost all of it is internal. I'd say about 5, 6, 7%, maybe 6% is international. Wall Street has been selling. In other words, they're floating out. If you can imagine the garbage debt in China, and you all probably don't understand how corrupt China is. Okay, China has. Anybody know shadow banking? Anybody heard of the term shadow banking? Shadow banking, anybody? Nobody? Well, I'll just tell you right now. Shadow banking is in the West, in the Western countries, that's like, payday loan services and, car title services, right? You all know that, right? If you go to a place and you want a loan, a quick loan, you got to give them your car title as collateral. That's unfortunately a lot of times it's people, they want drug money, or there's also payday loans, so they give them like a, I don't know, blank check or something like that. I don't know what they do, but basically they give them their money in advance of a paycheck, and of course they pay huge rates. Like, but if you calculate all the fees and so on and so forth, the annual interest rate is enormous. You all know about this, right? You've heard about it, correct? Anybody? Come on, I know you guys know. Well, here's the deal. That's the shadow banking in America and the West. It's not regulated, okay? It's not regulated. China's shadow banking is much more sketchy, and it's now encompassing a very large part of their financial system, okay? It's a big problem. Anyway, my point, I'm not going to get into the details, but my point is that when Wall Street is selling this debt to institutional investors, we're talking pension plans and funds, some of that debt is garbage. It's shadow banking debt. It's complete trash. I mean, I'm not going to go, just believe me, it's more toxic than the toxic mortgage-backed securities from the subprimes in America. It's worse than that. It's much worse, okay? And so My point is that eventually, once a lot of that debt is sold out to the world, oh, there's going to be a problem. That's going to be many years. But that's what Wall Street's doing. That's why they're getting rewarded. Okay? That's why they're getting rewarded. Because they're helping to lower the risk of China. In addition to, of course, they've been involved in Chinese IPOs, right? I mean, think about that. You see? And think about why China has been able to get away all this time, all these years, without opening their books to U.S. regulatory auditors. Right? I'm talking Chinese companies listed in the U.S. Every other country has to do it. China hasn't done it. You see what I'm saying? So this is why they're getting rewarded, man. It's a very scary thing. You're talking about treason as far as I'm concerned. Treason. Treason. Not just Wall Street, corporate America and Washington. They've sold this country out. I've known about all this, for the better part of 20 years. I wrote about all this stuff. Why do you think I get banned? They don't want people to know this. You understand? This is a big problem. And has anybody been to Asia? If you want to see where the new money is, take a trip to Asia. Okay? Take a trip to Asia. You go to some of these places in America, you can see things are just falling apart. Malls are falling apart, closing down, roads, bridges. Right? The new money is in Asia. Where does that money come from? You ever wonder where that money comes from? Is Asia innovating things? No, they're not. They're manufacturing things. You understand what I'm saying? Asia has been reliant on America more so, and more recently Europe and other Western nations, right, to send jobs over there. But we're the ones that innovate everything. Right? Shouldn't our country have those jobs? Shouldn't our people have those jobs? No. They send it to China. You see? The amount of money, and of course, not everybody's rich. All developing countries, most people are not that well off, and then you have this very, very upper elite. In fact, I can tell you, in many of these countries, they have better things for people with money than in America, let's say. I can tell you, I spent the most money I've ever spent on dinner. Guess where? Anybody want to guess? Not Pakistan. I'm talking Southeast Asia, East Asia and Southeast Asia. Mainly East, China, Taiwan, I mean, Japan's not a new player. South Korea is somewhat of a newer player, right? Vietnam is going to be a player for sure at some point. They're certainly rising. India has got a lot of problems, but India's growth they're probably going to lead the world for many years to come. China's growth is actually in permanent decline, FYI, for a variety of reasons. Not to mention the fact that, of course, their data is fudged, which is admitted by their premier. You can look that up. But take a guess, which country? Where did I spend the most money for a dinner? In fact, many times. The USA? No, not Bangkok either. Bangkok is actually getting pretty expensive, I'll be honest with you. I remember last time I was last time I was at this one trendy area, they were selling pizzas for $25. I kid you not. But Saigon. That's right, Saigon. I spent $450 for a meal in Saigon. Okay. At the Reverie Hotel, you can look it up. Reverie Hotel. Restaurants Romeo and Juliet, lined in gold, amazing. I never seen more Maybachs in my life than Saigon. You could take all the Maybachs in Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Miami, New York City. Combined, there's more in Saigon. Okay? I'm telling you. I've never seen as many you all know what a Maybach is, right? Yeah, India's got a couple of main problems as I can see it. The first problem is infrastructure, okay? But they also have there's a lot of problems with the different types of, I don't know if you call them religious. There's a lot of internal religious conflict between different groups there, without a doubt. But I think, really, I mean, who can solve religious problems and conflicts? I think infrastructure should be something that the leaders should solve. That's something more concrete, right? And obviously more economic benefits. India solved their infrastructure issue, and they'll be in much better shape. But I mean, they're already, in terms of economic growth, they've been doing quite well, and they're going to continue to do well. You all know why, right? They've got the youngest population in the world. They've got the best demographics, you see? That's the key. Demographics is a huge, for developing countries, it's the number one thing, most important thing. You see, that's why Japan, long term, is kind of not looking so good. And that's why China is starting to kind of be a problem. Matter of fact, much of Asia is facing a demographic problem. They're growing too old. South Korea's bad shape. U.S. is okay. Vietnam has got the second best demographics, second youngest population of any major country. So that's why India and Vietnam are going to do well in their economic growth for quite some time. There's no doubt about that. That's why China did so well for a long time, right? They had the demographics, they had the young workers, and they had the urban migration, you see. But actually, China, over the past about 13, 14 years, has actually created a debt bubble. China's banking system is substantially larger than America's now. They have a huge amount of debt. There's a lot of problems with China, I can tell you. Not to mention, not just the economic problems, but their geopolitical issues. But yeah, so they have a huge. China's debt is it's hard to know because it's a communist country, and you never know what they're hiding, what they're telling you. But it's about I think about $53 trillion, which is about 360% of the GDP. Okay, which is enormous. Yeah, did I tell you guys the story about the Chinese banker I met? Ever tell anybody that story here? I'm going to tell the story and I'm going to go. Okay. Anybody hear the story about the Chinese banker I met in Chiang Mai, Thailand? So it's about I don't know, a couple of years ago, and I was hanging out in Chiang Mai, and there's a lot of Chinese love Chiang Mai, by the way. I think. Well, I think there's two things. First of all, I think there's a history of China, and because Chiang Mai is northern Thailand. I think there's maybe a long history back there, but I think mostly there was a movie I think that was released called something like "Falling in Love in Chiang Mai" or something like that, or "Lost in Chiang Mai," and of course, you know, it was a Chinese movie, and so after that, they all go to Chiang Mai. But anyway, it's swarmed with Chinese tourists. So anyway, I ran across this guy. I was kind of sitting down, and this guy starts talking to me. It's, you know, pretty good English. And so we're talking and about this and that and whatever, and so I was like, oh, you know, I like your watch, nice watch, and it was a Rolex, and so of course, of course, what's the first thing I'm going to think? I'm going to think it's a fake Rolex from China, right? And I was like, is that real? Is that a real Rolex? He says, yeah. And so we're talking more. And so it turns out that he just came there like for the weekend or something. But it turns out that he works for a bank in China. And so that's interesting. And so he goes on to tell me about. He's from Shanghai. He goes on to tell me about a lot of things and stuff. And we were just talking, you know. And he's telling me about his house or his condo that costs, I think about maybe 1,200 square feet, and it's cost several $1 million, which I can tell you folks is typical. People think Asia is cheap. Yeah, okay. Go buy you some property there. In fact, I was looking at a condo recently, and I'm thinking, like, what is this, Hong Kong? The price is $1,600 a square foot. I mean, what? I mean, it's you know, it's high end. You know, it's a Marriott property, but still, I mean, give me a break. Are you kidding me? Like, what? And like, you don't even have like property rights, really? It's a joke. Anyway, so he was explaining to me, well, yeah, you know, see what you do in China. He says, look, you have to get you want to get a good school, right? So you want to get a good school, you're going to pay a lot for the property because that area, the property goes up. So, you know, he's paying several $1 million. I think I want to say $10 million for like a 1,200 square foot, which is just mind-boggling, right? And so we're talking about this and that, and so I was like, wow. I mean, I'm thinking like, and you know, I mean, the reality is, you know, I'm sure his parents gave him a good amount of money, but even still, I mean, you're going to be making some money, right? No matter how much you paid down in your parents. So I was like, wow, sounds like to me I need to go to China and work in the banking system. And I was like, so what do you do? Like, what exactly? Because I'm thinking like the banks, like, you know, I'm thinking like, what are you, a teller? And then he's like, you know what he told me? He goes, I can't tell you. He literally told me, I can't tell you what I do. And that's when I knew, okay? That's when I knew he was doing one of two things. And it's common. I knew he was doing one of two things. He's either helping launder money, which is money laundering in Asia, people, I'm telling you, it's like, it's mind-boggling. The amount of money laundering. Or I was thinking he's involved in shadow banking. Okay? Maybe he's doing both. So, anyway, that's my story there. But he wouldn't tell me, which is a little bit, you know. Yeah. Well, see, the thing people got to understand is that our value system in the West that we have is different than Asia. So if you see some of the things that go on in Asia, you're like, holy cow, this is a scam. But they don't see it as a scam. Let me give you an example, in fact. Earlier I mentioned JP Morgan, right? But I didn't talk about, I don't know what type of rewards they got, but some of you might remember JP Morgan was in the news with respect to China about I don't know, 5 years ago or so, 6 years ago. And you can look it up. They were in the news because they got, I think, fined by U.S. regulators because the J.P. Morgan Chase in China was caught handing out jobs to friends and family of officials in China in order to get more business. Anybody remember that? It wasn't something like, you know, the Wells Fargo thing. This is something like you heard about in a couple of days and it went away. Anybody remember that? Right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is normal. This is like, or you may have heard like they say, oh, you can't give gifts or they got to be this certain amount. In Asia, this is customary. It's how you do business, you know? It's just part of the game, you see? So, I mean, honestly, I could understand what J.P. Morgan was doing. That's part of the game. You're not gonna get any business unless that's how the corruption is in these countries. You see. So that's the way. So you know, a lot of things that we see as corrupt. It's just a different value system. You see. Now, on the other hand, I'll tell you this. The corruption that you see in the developing world it's more obvious. And everybody knows about it. And the problem is that, especially in America, people think, you know, oh, America's so clean. And everybody in the world loves America. They all think it's great. Oh, you're from America? Oh, wow. But I'm not saying, you know, not everybody, but I'm just saying like more than you would think if you're an American. More than you would be surprised. But in America, of course, the corruption is very severe and it's very deep and it's hidden. So if you don't understand how America truly works from a high level, you're not going to see the corruption at all. And most people don't see it, you see. It's kind of like a Disneyland, I'll be honest with you, in America. The corruption is very bad. But America is good at hiding things on a much higher level, sophisticated level, that you really have to understand a lot of things. You're not gonna know what's going on, really. There's a lot of issues. And that's why I told people earlier to read that antitrust lawsuit that AMD won about, I don't know, 6-7 years ago against Intel, so you can read like the stuff that was going on. It's hard to believe. You know, Michael Dell in his emails talking about how pissed off he was. He didn't want to sell any more AMD or he didn't want to sell any more Intel processors because they were shit. That's what he was saying basically. But Intel was paying Dell Computer to only sell Intel. I mean that was going on for many years. You see. And I was alerted to that fact, as I mentioned earlier. Probably most of you are here now weren't here earlier. I talked to the CEO about this, AMD, back 20 years ago. He was telling me, like, you got to understand, because I was a huge fan of AMD for a long time because I knew they made better processors, and I knew Intel is always just screwing up on their execution of rolling out new processors. They were always delayed or this or that. And he was telling me, he's like, well, you got to understand what's going on. You know, Intel is paying off because they're a bigger company. They're paying off our competitors. They're paying off these companies not to sell our chips. I was like, really? It's like, yeah. I was like, there's nothing we can do about it. We've been trying to sue them for all these years. And then once they finally won the lawsuit, I was like, oh, this is a turning point for AMD. For without a doubt, they're gonna take off and soar. They're gonna do well against Intel now because this is what was keeping them down. See, back several years ago, AMD was a penny stock. They were $2-3. They had a lot of debt, you know. But that lawsuit gave them, I think, $5 billion. They got out of debt, had cash, and now they could compete fairly with Intel. You see? Not a lot of people know about this, you know. Not a lot of people know about this. But people should know about it. Right? That's why, me, as far as I'm concerned, like I've been waiting, Intel has been a disaster. in many ways. I might buy them if they collapse, but it's kind of like they're a blue chip, so they pay a dividend. They're a blue chip. They got stability, so they're going to have to really screw up to get to the price that I would want them to get to, and they might actually rebound before they get to that price because now they're actually making that new fab facility in Arizona. But they definitely got to get their act together because they've been a joke, man, for a long time. Yeah. So Intel was, and listen, one of the ways I knew that AMD was making better chips, better processors. You know how I found out? I mean, it's if you buy a computer, that's your experience. You got that one computer you don't know. You know how I found out actually? I would go around to Best Buy in Circuit City and ask all the salesmen in the computer area, who makes the best chips? Who makes the best processors? Right? And it always got AMD. I kid you not. I kid you not. I mean, this was 20 years ago. So I was wondering, like, why if they make the, everyone's saying they make the best chips. These guys that work at Best Buy, they know about this stuff, right? They're not just salesmen. They know. A lot of them are geeks. And I'm thinking, so why aren't they doing well? And then I had the call with the CEO, and boom, it made perfect sense. And I couldn't believe it. I was still a little bit green. I mean, who would expect, America, the free market capitalist nation, right, the beacon of capitalism, would behave in this way? Like, this is something you would expect to happen in, like, Russia or India, right, or some place like that. You don't expect this to happen in America. That's it. Once again, read that antitrust between AMD and Intel. I can't remember. I think it was 2014, 2015. It's entertaining as hell to see what actually went on, and Michael Dell bitching about how he didn't want to sell any more Intel processors because they sucked. But he was getting paid tons of money. He was getting kickbacks from Intel, you see. CTRS, let me just say it this way. I think you might want to take a look at a dot-com bubble documentary. Okay? You might want to take a look. Now, I don't know, to get a flavor for some of the excesses that were going on in the dot-com. Because if you didn't live through the dot-com, it's hard to really explain. You had Kathy Wood types during the dot-com. You did have, this Shamath Palapatia guy. You had guys like that. You did have these black box overhyped companies all over the place. Okay? You had this stuff. And you had analysts, pumping stocks to the moon. Right? So you had a lot of these characteristics. You had, taxi drivers and soccer moms giving stock advice and giving stock tips, right? Today, things are different. You've got the internet now, right? You've got YouTube. Everyone's a stock genius, right? You got Kathy Wood talking about, and by the way, everyone believes this disruptive innovation, which is a completely bogus claim. Okay, me having studied science significantly and know about science and technology, I know that's just a bunch of nonsense. All right, technology is always, you could always argue, but there's no like special period right now of rapid acceleration. She's just full of shit. This nonsense. But Kathy Woods, earnings don't matter. It's price to sales. How much revenue, right? That's what matters. Price to sales. That's according to her. And, back in the dot-com, they were saying it's different this time. Earnings don't matter. It's a paradigm shift. Everything's different. Nothing in valuation applies. That's what they were saying. Okay? That's what they were saying. And that's what they typically say. This type of behavior is typical anytime you get a bubble. Okay? Anytime you get a bubble. It's typical behavior. People think it just keeps going up, 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 right? And it's different this time. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, I recommend, if you haven't seen a documentary on the .com, I recommend you watch one. And in fact, you know, I remember, I don't read a whole lot of books. I remember I read a book on the .com. It was great, man. It was great. I mean, I don't know, maybe it was exceptionally good for me because I lived through it. I don't know, but just as the types of, see, you all don't, some of you don't know. I know some of you here know, but like, you got to understand, like, there were some crazy things, like Dennis Kozlowski, Tycho. You know, you can probably find on YouTube a video that showed how he spent like millions of dollars on some like Roman toga birthday party for his wife. You know, just crazy stuff, crazy excesses going on. You know, just ridiculous things. And of course, you know, Tycho, you know, Dennis Kozlowski went to jail, I think, I'm pretty sure. WorldCom, which was the big telecom. Bernie Ebers, you know, they went bankrupt. I told you all a story about that when I was dealing with institutional investors. Actually, I was dealing with the largest shareholder of WorldCom. I told you all that story, right? Anyway, basically the guys asked me if they, you know, they wanted to know if they should buy more, and it was under $5, and I said, hell no, just stay away, and they ended up doubling it. It's funny because that company that I was dealing with, and you can look all this up if you don't believe me, that company I was dealing with, it was called Alliance Capital, and at that time, they were one of the, probably the top 10, I would say, mutual fund companies in terms of size, exposure, and they didn't listen to me, of course, and they blew up. They doubled their position in WorldCom. From my memory, they had 100 million shares, and you know, I told the story before. I could have. Nobody else is going to do what I did. You know, when you got someone that wants to buy 100 million shares, and you're on the other end of the phone, and you're the broker, you're going to say, oh, yeah, it's great, man. Let's go, because I get the commission. Are you kidding me? Whoa. You understand what I'm saying? you see, that's how it works. I mean, that's how you get paid. You see? You guys know that, right? That's how you get paid on Wall Street if you're dealing with institutions. They do the trades through you. You see? So I told him, no, don't touch it, man. This thing's it's finished. And this is also when I learned, like, this guy was a kid. He was like 28 or something. You could tell. I'm thinking, like, Jesus Christ, they got like young people in charge of making decisions for people in these funds that, you know, old ladies, old grandmas retiring. This is just shocking, you know. But anyway, I mean, nobody knows this story, folks, except people I've told this to. Because, I mean, no one's going to know. They could have avoided potentially big problems because that caused them to get into major financial trouble because they got sued after that. I believe the state of Florida and maybe some other states sued them because of that WorldCom. Now, somebody, as your homework, you can look that up. It's a long time ago. I'm sure somewhere you'll find something about that. Okay? Here's the point. The point is that, FYI, Alliance Capital, I don't know if they were, my guess is that they, just based upon the shit that they did during the .com, my guess is that they were kind of forced to merge. And they merged with Bernstein Capital. Okay? Bernstein Capital Management was a boutique asset management firm. And today they're known as Alliance Bernstein. that's where Kathy Wood worked. Now, I don't know when they merged. I didn't really follow them. But it's possible Kathy Wood may have worked for Alliance Capital during the dot-com fallout, which makes sense. I mean, it makes sense, right? So that's kind of a little funny story, true story, right? Someone might want to take a look at Kathy Wood's CV and see when she worked at Alliance. But I'm pretty sure when I've seen her said, she said she worked at Alliance Bernstein. But that could be because, it's now known as Alliance Bernstein, right? I don't know. But someone may take a look and see, if she worked, around, say, 2000 to 2003, something like that, at Alliance Bernstein. If she did, then she was there. It'd be kind of ironic, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about Jack Bogle, but I can tell you right now, if anybody was ever anti-index, Jesus Christ, all you got to do is look at Kathy Wood and really grab that situation. And, I mean, that could be the best marketing piece for Vanguard or any other index funds. It's just, it's mind-boggling. You take a look at ARK. In fact, take a look at it right now. You take a look at the company, and they're down by more than a lot of individual speculative stocks, right? In fact, the way it's going, ARK might actually come back down, excuse me, to its IPO price, which was like $20. I mean, this is not impossible. This is a possibility. Look at that, $21, $21, 22, $21.50. This is possible, by the way, right? This is a possibility. Yeah, Elon Musk. Look, Elon, he doesn't care. He's just about the money. This is the same guy who, he's riding the whole global warming wave, right? So anybody, he's gonna buddy up with anybody. He's gonna chum up with anybody who serves his interests. You see, anybody. That's. So, yeah, I mean, Elon Musk. I was very positive on Elon Musk. Publicly for several years, but what kind of did it for me was when it's kind of a series of things that told me this guy is an emotional wreck. First of all, was when he berated the analysts who's asking a normal question, and he just kind of, if anyone talks about anything that Elon is doing that is not favorable, he acts like a 3-year-old or a 6-year-old child. He's very immature, right? He scolded the analysts, which is a very bad, that's a no-no. You don't do that because analysts are very important for financing. And in fact, that situation almost led to Tesla's bankruptcy, by the way. Tesla almost went bankrupt, okay? They were a hair away from going bankrupt. That was worrisome when he did that. I couldn't believe it because he's been around a long time. You think he knows how it works. It's not like he's some newbie, opens a company. That was weird. The second thing was when he scolded that diver, the British diver, who rescued those kids in Thailand from the cave. Remember that? Where, the diver, Elon wants to be, wherever there's the spotlight, he wants to be there. Elon, he wants to be Superman. I can save the day. Yeah, okay. What a clown. So Elon goes to Thailand and he talks about how he can build a small submarine to save the kids. Remember that? Everybody remember that? Right? Everybody remember that? And so what did the British divers like? That's not going to work. That's a joke. That's not going to work. Elon didn't like that. So what did Elon do? He basically called this diver who saved all those children, which was, I don't know, 17 or something, which at least one Thai diver, I think, died trying to save them. He goes and basically calls this guy a pedophile. And of course, Elon doesn't even have to pay the price. He gets out of it. He wins the legal battle. Oh, well, pedo guy is what we use in South Africa, just a term. That's bullshit. Right? That's the advantage, folks. If you're on the establishment side pitching nonsense like climate change, then you get away with anything. That was disgusting to me. That was weird and disturbing. But I was still on Elon's side. Okay? I was still on his side. But the last straw, strike 3, was when he goes on Joe Rogan and smokes a joint. Okay? That was it. I'm sorry. CEOs of companies don't go on and smoke joints in public. Right? It's bad enough you jeopardize financing from Wall Street with your antics, which was shocking. It's even worse when you attack someone personally just because he didn't have good things to say about your Superman attempts to rescue kids. He just basically said it's going to fail. It's not going to work. Okay? And then he defames the guy. But then when he goes and smokes pot, maybe some of the kids, oh yeah, he's cool. Yeah, Elon. That's just not, that's weird. That's not a vote of confidence. After that, I don't want nothing to do with the guy, honestly. But let me tell you, and I've told this story before, what saved Tesla was when, obviously, the board knew he was a wreck. They knew he was out of control, okay? And they were on the verge of bankruptcy. And that's why he was talking about, oh, well, we got an offer to go private and this and that. And I came out and said, listen, if Elon doesn't change, if something doesn't change drastically, they're going to have to go private because they're not going to survive. I think he knew that. He was gearing up money. He was gearing up investors from China, from Germany, and he probably didn't know which one he was going to go with. But I think what happened was when Larry Ellison came into the play, when Larry Ellison came onto the board, okay, that was the game changer. That was the complete game changer that saved everything. And I'm willing to bet at some point when an accurate book is written, that will be the story, that will be told. I think that's what happened. Larry Ellison, obviously, a lot of pull in corporate America and the international community with everything, basically. I think that was the saving move of Tesla in terms of the financial situation. And everything changed since that time. So, yeah. Yeah, of course, Obama, Elon took a lot of money. That's why do you think he got into the EV business? He saw the government slush fund. He saw you understand. That's how you make the big money. You go where the government money is going, right? Many wealthy people throughout history have made money that way. In fact, a lot of these people have. You could even look at Microsoft, Bill Gates, right? To some extent, because of they were allowed a monopoly status for such a long time. Not only did they benefit from that, but imagine all of the government money they got because Microsoft was an illegal monopoly. And of course, by the time, they got antitrust fines and lawsuits, that was like, It's like, oh, okay, that's how it works. I can be monopoly for, for 20, 30 years, and then you're going to find me. Okay, I'll do it every day. you know. But certainly, even Ross Perot, who ran against Clinton, was against NAFTA, was against free trade. He built his business off government contracts. That's a lot of people do that. Yeah, I never liked Ellison. I don't like Ellison. I'm not a fan of Ellison at all. But I'm just telling you, his clout and his perception. I've never liked Ellison. In fact, I don't even think I've ever bought Oracle. And probably because I don't like Ellison. And Ellison's also, he's a big braggart as well. But yeah, I'm just telling you though, Ellison he has a lot of clout. And also I think he put like $1 billion, I think, into Tesla at the time, which in itself is a big vote of confidence. You got to understand, you're talking about a guy that's been around for a long time. He's a corporate America / Wall Street type of guy, Ellison, right? And you understand, these people know a lot of people. They're connected. And so you can imagine, I can guarantee he's very connected with the climate change crowd, which is, you don't ask who that is, you ask who it's not. It's the majority of people, right? And so, it's more about his influence, I think. Mark Cuban put sports on the internet. At least he created a shit ton. So you're talking about Musk or Mark Cuban. You all know my opinion on Mark Cuban. This guy's a scumbag. He's a bad person. He's insecure. He's a loser, and he looks like Frankenstein, by the way. Mark Cuban has always, his main goal, his main objective has always been he wants to show the world that he's a smart guy. He's a smart businessman. That's how insecure he is. Dude, you got plenty of money. Just go away with your family. What are you doing? Like, what? This guy, he's always been so envious of Trump. He's so envious of Trump. It's hilarious. If you guys watch that, if you've been following that, I've noticed this for like 15 years. I remember even, in fact, he would criticize, when Trump was going to run, and and then like he said, yeah, I would be his, I would be his, his running mate. Like, Cuban doesn't get it. People don't like him. He's just not, and he's been trying so hard to be liked. People don't like Mark Cuban. He's not a likable guy, and I think he's a prick. He tries so hard to be liked. But you know what? All you got to do is be a decent person, and you're okay. Just be a decent person. This is a guy who tried to shaft the founder of Broadcast.com. He tried to kick him to the curb, man, without any money, basically. What a scumbag. I never liked Cuban. I never will. Yeah, I talked about that company, that whole scam, that whole thing last time. Yeah, you're right, Chris. I am Energizer Bunny. Jesus Christ, it is late. But I think this is a good time. I've got to sign off now for this marathon chat. So, all right, guys, enjoy your weekend. I think certainly stay off YouTube. Enjoy your weekend. Go out, okay, and enjoy. All right.